Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
Synctank.
Anybody have like a good like tennis sync? You know what I mean?
Tetanus? I hope not.
Maybe. I just for the longest time I wanted to see the Battle of the Sexes, like the actual Battle of the Sexes tennis tournament.
Andy Kaufman style.
Well, yeah, kinda. I mean,
Beating
yeah,
each other with rackets. Yeah.
totally. I forget the two contestants' names. What the God.
Zendaya was one of them, I think.
Out of sight, out of mind. But you can find it now on YouTube. Like, you can't watch all of their matches. You can find like the final one,
Talking like Empress or modern.
No, this was in the 70s. It was a big to-do event where it was a man versus a woman at tennis, and I forget the people's names. I should remember. And Billie Jean something. Billie Jean King. Somebody said it in the comments. And the guy, I forget his name, but yeah, he's outrageous, dude.
Billie
Yeah,
Jean
Bobby Riggs.
yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. And so, like, but you can watch the final thing on YouTube now. So I don't know how much of a sync it is necessarily, but I feel like there was something there. I feel like I came across something at some point while I was looking into that. But like, I want to see the earlier stuff because the commentators were apparently just like super over the top, like making like sexist jokes that were like Ron Burgundy style, like to the times, and like I just want to see
tennis?
that, like
70s? No way, dude.
with the man versus the woman at tennis. You're being sarcastic, I'm sure.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. But I don't know. I don't think I answered your question at all because I can't pull out a sync necessarily from it so easily. But I feel like if Alex was here, he'd probably know something about the dates.
That's good. There was a no kings protest. That's the thing that everyone was. There's all these. I pull my screen up here. Like you're from Santa Cruz. You saw these like average female at the no kings protest. Most no kings protesters are 40-year-old white women. But who else?
Though, right? Because we don't have a king now. They did the protest, and now we don't have a king. So.
Simultaneously to this is the Six King Slam, which is a major tennis exhibition. And so I don't know if this is like just in my mind, but something about white women and tennis and protesting, like those are syncs right there, right?
Well, the no kings thing is perfect for this time, this age we're in, because Pluto is in Aquarius opposing Leo, the sign of kings. And the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had the American Revolution and the French Revolution.
Dude,
so
this is right in our face. I'm sorry. Billie Jean King. That's her freaking name.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Billie Jean is not my
Yeah, which is funny because it's the woman. And so the woman is the king in this case. It's kind of crazy. I felt like the messaging was really weird. First of all, you see the Basquiat crown like crossed out. That's like the symbol for no kings, right? It's like literally the signature crown of Basquiat, who whose paintings have sold more than, like, the value of Basquiat paintings are higher than any other paintings ever painted in the US. So in history. And so, like, and he's came from the bottom of the bottom of the top through the, you call it exploitation of Andy Warhol, though if it wasn't for Andy Warhol, we wouldn't know who he is. But also just the messaging is weird. It's almost like to say no kings when everything that represented for him attached to it is that we're all kings. So there has been the argument that from that, you know, that whole culture attached to that the point is I'm a king. You know, that every man and woman is a star kind of thing. You know, it's like we're all kings. So when you say no kings, it's like it's kind of a weird.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
You know,
like flip messaging.
But it makes sense. Like you're pointing out that it's like completely contradictory, but not if it's coming from Soros. If it were a true grassroots thing, then no kings doesn't make sense. But if it comes from a Soros, then like he doesn't want you to be a king either. Like
That's
the individual protest thing, if you probably sat them down, you were like, nah, bro, like we're all kings. You could get everyone on the same page, but Soros doesn't want every single person to think they're a king. They want you to think no kings, literally.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. So thank you.
Soros is just jealous of Leos. That's all.
Of Leos. Okay, thank you. So I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on last night. I go and I look at the message board for the private Synctank chat, and I'm seeing like I can't tell if Will is genuinely upset, and then I'm like, okay, I could have gotten this wrong because maybe I didn't scroll up far enough, you know, maybe I didn't pull the condom down all the way, but I'm for the serial number. But I'm trying to figure out like what the beef was, and was it because Giant was talking about Leos and he just totally took it personally? Is Will a Leo? Was that the joke? Like,
I think that's what happened. That plus, like, it was a major suffering contest. It was like, who's got more fatherly samsara? Like, which one of us is more miserable? I'm better than you because I have more misery in my family.
There's a quote.
You're in your 40s, I'm 47, the other one said. Yeah.
Can we bring them up? Are they around? Can we just host the debate live now that we're talking
behind
about it?
stage.
Hold on. Yeah. No, we have to make sure that there's nothing incriminating in
I want to see them fight. And
No, I mean bring them on the show. Like,
oh, I thought you meant bring up the messages. Just
yeah,
like
now that we're
scroll through
talking about it. Honestly, I think a lot of it was
yeah.
Because I came home last night and I just watched it live, and I was just like, "What is going on here?" Because it's hard to figure out how it began. Like it's really nebulous,
Right.
but it seems like it was like miscommunication. Like it seems like I think Will asked a question and it sort of like insulted Giant a bit, and then Giant just went off about Leos, which really doesn't like Leos.
Well, is it? Oh, is that how it started with something else? Okay, because whatever the case, like it feels like the perfect like comedy bit setup where somebody's just describing astrology and the other person, because they are identified with a sign, like takes it super personally. And
Space
I don't
racism.
know if that's what was in space race. I was like, is that what's that like? Is it like, oh, Leos are super egotistical? You son of a bitch. You what did you call me egotistical? You're freaking egotistical, you know.
There's profiles if you're swiping left and right, and there'll be a profile that's like, you know, no Leos or whatever. Like it's actually it's a deal breaker before it even starts to be one.
Yeah, no cancers, man. I can't deal with that energy, dude. It just
I just wanted to
down.
squeeze into the struggle contests. There's a quote from Doug Stanhope where, you know, say less words better than many or whatever, but it's your suck doesn't make my suck less suck. And I always thought that was the best way to sort of see that.
Oh, I like the Aleister Crowley one. I've never been able to get over the infantile belief that the universe was made for me to suck. Which is good because it has like a double, maybe even a triple meaning there, you know.
Right,
Did that even exist? Was that like a pejorative?
What's that?
Was that a pejorative in Aleister Crowley's time to tell someone they sucked?
Oh, right. I don't think so, but he maybe made it up. It may have come from him originally. I'm not really sure. It wouldn't surprise me if that came from Crowley.
Yeah, but there's also the sucking a million babies a day, which isn't what he said, but you know, you get the meaning. Like,
sorry, I saw this. Now you have to as well. This is made with Grok imaging. Speaking.
Is that? I see that. See, Leos do. It's not the Leo sucking.
It's literally a Leo. Yeah, what's happening?
The sun.
Sorry.
That look is actually pretty interesting. They got like some weird memes.
Billie Jean is Michael Jackson's song, and Michael Jackson's the Prince.
The king of pop.
He's the king of pop? Okay,
yeah.
not Prince.
Okay.
Who's the Prince of pop? I thought there was a Prince of pop as well.
Oh, that's crazy because Basquiat was referred to as the king of pop art.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's the thing. And Samo, he would write Samo on it. That was like his tag, you know. People pronounce it Samo, but it's Samo, like, how are you doing? Oh, Samo. And then he'd write Samo with the crown. That was like his signature thing. So also when you see that X through the crown, what it looks like to me is you got MLK, the king, right? And then you have Malcolm X like on top of him. Because I would argue that that's the distinction between equality and equity, is basically the ideologies of King versus Malcolm X. In the sense that Malcolm X, you know, wanted the segregation as our own communities, whereas King was all about integration. And so there was this conflicting thing, because with equity, you know, you don't have, it isn't equality, it's compensation. So if you determine that there was a wrong, that it has to be, you know, made right. That's where we get all the stuff around restitution is connected to that kind of MLK ideological bent. So what are we looking at?
Well, I always see that too, is like the MLK versus Malcolm X always feels like a false equivalent, Republican versus Democrat. Like they can, like it's kind of the same thing. Like no one ever talks about what is it, Clarence X13, who is like one of the originators of like the X last name, which then starts getting into like 5% and Nation of Gods and Earths and like more modern version. Like those are our Malcolm X's, or the Nation of Gods and Earths, I think.
Right. But I mean, I think the takeaway here is, when it comes to the distinction, at least you know, fundamentally, you're saying like King is like, what is equality to King? It's by your merits. You shouldn't be judged by the color of your skin, but the content of your character, which interestingly enough has become like kind of like the Republican motto that some people would just view as like a front, like they're just saying this, but really we can hear the dog whistles. And so, you know, that's like would be the argument against that. But at the same time, like, I mean, when you looked at what Charlie Kirk was saying and the criticism that he would get around, like, if he is going to board an airplane and he sees somebody he has to question whether they got the job based on their actual merit, ability for the job, or if it was a bias related to the color of their skin, which, you know,
which is ironic, because in World War II, most of the pilots were really just like rich kids that like wanted to be in the war without being in the war. Like they would be flyboys, and that was sort of a, like, if you went to Yale and if you were in Skull and Bones, you're probably going to be a pirate or a pilot, both actually, as soon as they start actually drafting people. Like that's the easiest way to not claim bone spurs or something and screw yourself politically 20 years later.
That's the basis of the central part of Stalag 17, which was echoed in Chicken Run, which is why Mel Gibson's character is like the rich flyboy. Like he's playing a character from Stalag 17. Like if you look at the Chicken's barracks, it even says 17 for that reason. So they combine The Great Escape with Stalag 17, but it's all about that rich flyboy. It's like comes from the wealthy family. He just happened to get shot down, and it's like, oh man, now he's you know he's not getting the same special treatment that he had gotten his whole life. You know,
it's sort of like the story of Tarzan, though, where it's like if you drop aristocracy off in the jungle, it'll still become king of the jungle, like even if it's in a completely foreign environment. So that's the idea, is like even if you know, Skull and Bones men get shot down in World War II, like they're still gonna run whatever they end up landing into. Like that'll be the new point of like revolution, essentially.
Right. No kings. That includes King Kong, and you know, the end of the 1976 King Kong, where he falls from the World Trade Center after they unveil him from a giant container, like a gasoline pump. I don't know if the last time you saw the 1976 King Kong with Jeff Bridges, but I don't know. It feels like there's some applicability. Like I'm thinking
Rodney King.
Rodney King, right? He's that guy. Rodney King. Rodney King.
from the well, yeah, because you got the Rodney King protests and or riots, and now you have the No Kings protests. So it does feel kind of connected, that there's something about,
oh, for real,
from Black Lives Matter to No Kings after Rodney King.
Right. Why is there always like these crazy implications with like when they're picking out these names? It's like you'd think, because they obviously have these big think tanks around these things. This is a super corporate event, the No Kings protest. Whatever you have to say about it, look at the sponsors. My God, you got all these billionaires putting in money into this. There's a list of them. You've probably seen the chart. I have it saved on my phone or whatever, because I was just like, really, this checks out, like how much money goes into these things. It was true for the Occupy thing too. I mean, that had some big sponsors behind it as well. It wasn't simply adbusters, as we were told.
It'd be so funny, like sponsored by Starbucks, and people are like destroying a Starbucks.
right. That's the thing. Yeah, it's like Fight Club with a. Didn't they make them change it? Wasn't there a thing where it's like the original Fight Club had the giant ball, like that reminds me of the sphere from Ground Zero, that was representative of the Kaaba at Mecca, but how it falls into that, it rolls into the coffee shop and smashes it. I think originally it said Starbucks, and then they made them change it, even though it will still say Starbucks at the beginning when he's going through the trash and talking about, this,
His IKEA catalog.
Yeah, well, before that, but yeah, same premise, yeah. Whereas this, yes, Starbucks Galaxy or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, David, your mic is crackling a lot again, eh? Remember this
it's
happened
doing
a
that?
while ago? And then we tested it and it was fine. I don't know, it's weird.
Well,
There's one little cable that's not doing well in there,
it's
probably.
it's a cable.
Typical Leo
Typical crap.
or whatever it is.
All right. Well, the ballroom though, because simultaneously there are companies that are supporting the No Kings protest, but there's a lot that are actually just going and bending to the party line. So Apple gave a bunch of money to help build software, technology, hardware to help build the ballroom, the East Wing ballroom. And I wonder what you think about the East Wing being torn down and replaced of the White House for a ballroom.
Let me just beat some schizos to the punch here, because I know I'm going to see this on TikTok or something in like the coming weeks. But is this NASA passing off the chalice to Apple? Like, now you guys can run the fake space program. Like, they're literally creating the ballroom, right? So does this mean that NASA's technology is out of date and they can't keep up the holograms and the lies as good as Apple possibly could at like hiding the Arctic wall and flat Earth and just like, ball stuff? So I feel like that's probably going to play into this.
Well, Anna Nicole Wordsmith was talking about the meaning of East, and so that got me thinking, because I when you look at an astrological chart, the East is the horizon, and it's the identity of the chart. So to demolish the East Wing is to demolish the identity to build something new, which is really what's happening in the United States right now, right? Like, they're completely changing their identity and their relationship to the rest of the world and how they're showing themselves. So I thought that worked symbolically for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, this was always open. Let me know if I'm still cackling, and I'll try and fiddle with this better. But this was the issue with just that the Republicans allowed for an insurgency, right? The Democrats refused to allow for they dangled an insurgency with Bernie. Like, Bernie was their closest thing to being like, we're gonna permit this to happen because it's something that's needed, and they never let it happen. If they had run RFK Jr., say what you will, but if they had run him on the Democrat ticket, that would have been them allowing for an insurgency in their party. And so, but that speaks to what you're saying, like, they're rebuilding. Like, the Democrats had their shot to do that, but they couldn't bring themselves to allow for that compromise, which kind of reminds me of what Thomas and I are looking at with the Golden Bough in our comic book. Like, it's that premise. Like, you won't allow the tree to be trimmed back in your hubris, and now everybody has to suffer the consequences, and so Trump is just a Republican version of like what was needed for the Republican Party to renew itself.
Is that why everyone calls him Daddy?
Or like for the lodge itself, because if you think of like the lodge, you got the East and the West, and there's this whole ritual. I know. I'm sorry, Thomas, but there's the East part of the lodge is like the light and the beginning of the work and all these things. It's
I'm not with this guy. Just like
the sun rises in the lodge right through the east. So the lodge opens in the east. I don't know who said that. Probably everyone who ever took an oath. So the idea that you have to replace the place of the great work, which is also traditionally where the first lady did a lot of her philanthropy and her work. So sort of the Order of the Eastern Star,
Oh yeah, Eastern Star for real. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's gonna be a ballroom. So a ballroom is kind of interesting because, like Gurdjieff and dancing, that there's something about.
Whoa, dude!
They're gonna
No kings. The Eastern Star is the matriarchy. It's the matriarchs rather than the patriarchs. And so to tear down, there's symbology there. I didn't really symbology. I didn't really realize that. What a trip.
We gotta talk. We gotta talk maybe a little bit outside. Well, I don't know. Maybe, I've been. I don't know how much I want to talk about this, but we gotta talk about something that's like exactly what you're getting into right now.
Light and knowledge is rewritten. Okay, go ahead.
The Eastern Star. I'm assuming we're talking about Venus, right? Normally that would be Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is Venus. There, especially in China, when Venus is rising in the morning, that is Venus's war version, because there's a war version of Venus, and then the evening star is more about the love and romance and beauty. That's where it's more glorious. But when it rises in the east, it tends to be seen as more portending war in some systems.
Right. So you may not realize this, Noah, but the symbol for the Eastern Star is a pentagram, and each point of the pentagram is attached to a different matriarch. And so everything you're saying is absolutely, we know that even in the not Angels and Demons, but the Da Vinci Code, it's so funny even watching Tom Hanks go, that's not a satanic symbol, that's actually a symbol for Venus. It's because the points in which Venus intersects with its own pathway, its previous pathway. So if you mark those out as we twist through the space, it forms a pentagram if you're showing it two-dimensionally. So that's
it's the retrograde cycle. It's the synodic cycle with the Earth and the Sun. Venus retrogrades in 5 signs.
Right. So it's interesting because a lot of the times when you see like alchemical symbols or something, like it feels like, why does this mean that? Like, why does the crescent with the circle and the cross mean Mercury, when it's like taking the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun and putting them together, and then you get this symbol, But like with the Venus symbol as the pentagram, like it's very direct. Like this is literally mapping out how Venus moves through space in relationship to the Earth. And like, that not all symbols are as direct as that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
or like the hexagon's relationship to Saturn, if you believe the NASA photos, going back to NASA, of the pentagon, I think it's the North Pole of Saturn. I mean, if you believe that, or is that just ritualism and AI?
I think it's the hexagon.
Yeah.
And that also could be, I don't really know the degree to which synchronicity ends and ultimate awareness begins, because that attribution goes so far back that, like, did the ancient people, like, were they like, was this like a meditation that they were able to recognize this hexagonal thing on Saturn? Like, did they travel there? Like, maybe it's like what William S. Burroughs talked about like, you don't need a spaceship to travel through space. Like, your body is that, like, you could actually understand and contact these planetary bodies through meditation, so there's just maybe really high people, that are just like, I can see the hexagram, that's what it is. I don't really know.
Lying in a sarcophagus and taking the soma or whatever it was, and then having Saturn rise into the shaft of light in the center of the pyramid. Oh, for sure.
I think there's a distinct chance too of advanced technology, because it's a weird thing. There's like the noble savage fallacy is like a version of like all like noble peoples or all original peoples, Aborigines and Native Americans, everyone, that like they were peaceful and that it was people that came in later. And there's like a similar fallacy that I don't know a name for, but it's that like we just recently got smart, and that people were dumb in the Dark Ages. They were dumb in the 12th century, and they were dumb in the 3rd century. And none of that's true. Like we're still obsessing over things written like 800 BC and older, right? And that type of advanced thinking, and even that kind of like technology that they were looking into. So it doesn't sound that crazy. It's not Tartarian to me to think that ancient Greeks might have literally been able to see the hexagon on Saturn, and that people before 1,000 years before them and 1,000 years before them.
Or Papua New Guinea, right? That Papua New Guinea is supposed to be this completely backward, primitive culture, but they have a rare parasite that comes from eating pigs. That was only only
Inbreed,
introduced.
right? This is where Kuru comes from too.
Yeah, but the Kuru they've actually developed epigenetic responses to in order to survive, so they don't have the same problems with Kuru that other people have. They have some other kind of condition that allows them to do that.
Well, not
something
all
that's
of them.
different.
Some of them.
Yeah, the elite who've been doing it for generations. So not that different,
Allegedly.
probably. No, I mean the Papua New Guinea is quite open about it. It's whether or not the West have that same epigenetic immunity.
I was just trying to
metabolism.
get the proper qualifying before we say things. Like, I'm like, is this one of those examples where we have to be careful? Are we going to have somebody
right.
from Papua New Guinea like trying to sue us or something for
There's a theory in here that they actually sent Michael Rockefeller to Papua New Guinea to harness that particular Kuru resistant genetic trait and then bring it back into the family. And then who knows? Maybe he did get eaten. Maybe he found it and sent it back, and now he's like living in secret.
This was like a couple years ago, I think, on the show we were discussing that, and I had to, after the show, I went and looked into it further because I find the Kuru stuff really interesting. There's also a movie that deals with it called The Plumber from Australia, which I highly recommend. It was like probably the best made-for-TV movie pretty much ever made. But
you guys should you should throw up a link to your talk on divulgence about that. That was really good. It was a really good episode. Yeah. Also, you're still David.
You're still crackling.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
And I point out too, there's a really good book. I believe it's just called Cannibalism. That goes like real deep into the Kuru.
No, that was a musical. That was a musical.
You're right about the Donner adjacent party, right?
Just a boy and his horse.
Yeah, there's never been an account of like Donner Party Kuru, I guess.
Well, I think it has to like accumulate, right?
Right. It's over
like,
time.
Like mercury and tuna.
It's called micdrenochrome. Micdrenochrome. You can find that pretty easily. It's a good hashtag.
It's a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, so wait, we were talking about viruses have Lockean uplift. So have Lockean uplift is what Thomas was talking about, the idea that Greek mythology somehow educated or elevated the human consciousness, and before that we were more primitive.
But well, no, I mean, not even before that, because it seems that like even Pythagoras was just kind of like a guy that wrote a really good mixtape of all the different formulas and information that he came across.
They're
and
the Wiggers. Like, the Greeks are the Wiggers of the ancient world.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. But I don't think, I mean, at a certain point, once your hat gets so pointy and people start worshiping you enough, you start to forget to remind them that like, oh, I got this information from this other place. But like originally that's where that came from. And then I don't think Pythagoras ever hid that. I don't think any of the ancients really hid that. They were just like transferring information out from someone else.
But Pythagoras is the one who really discovered music theory, though, right? Am I getting that wrong?
Maybe we need to stop saying discovered and start saying popularized about so many of these people. Because I think a lot of people, there probably were like gypsy hookers that could play musical scales, and Pythagoras finally wrote it down. I think that's true about a lot of explorers. Most explorers probably weren't super good at writing. And then there's a few of them that say, oh, well, I took this trip to Spain and then to California, and all of a sudden it's that person's famous. San Francisco is famous for going somewhere. Jean Cartier is famous for going somewhere. That for maybe 400 or 500 years, somebody was going and either couldn't or did not want to write down that they were going to that place, right? And then all of a sudden,
some people left markers that they were at that place, and yet we still don't recognize them as like the founders. So that gets weird.
Yeah, because who found it, right? The founders, keepers, I guess.
Everyone here pretty much plays music at some capacity, right? All four of us. So I'm sure you've been in a studio or with like someone that just clicks with music. They don't have to even know music theory, how to read it, how to write it. Like all they need to know is just like how to get different tones out of things, and they can create a melody and a structure. Like they will be applying music theory without even realizing it. And then there's also people that can study it for 4 years and then still not be able to actually play anything that's, I guess, like objectively aesthetically pleasing, as subjective as that might be. But there's a quality to it, so that for someone to discover or introduce or invent or anything, it's just like the guy that wrote it down, like we're saying, like it's like going out into the Wild, the first one that actually drew a horse, like anatomically correct version, and not like the medieval version of horses before anyone actually figured out what they really looked like. Like the first one to kind of do that, it seems like.
Well, that was one of the weakest parts of Dave McGowan's book, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. Is that the name of it? Where he's saying like Jim Morrison had no musical training, so there's no way he could have made up songs. This doesn't make sense. It's like, I feel so bad you had so little musical intuition, Dave. Like that you don't understand that you can imagine things in your head without having been trained.
Oh my god, I have so many complaints about that book. I have things that I love about that book, but I have some serious qualms with his jump to conclusions, Matt.
Yeah, but I mean, where I think he his masterpiece is Wagging the Moon Doggy. I mean, that's incredible. I don't know if you've read that.
No. The only thing I've looked at is Weird Scenes.
What's his masterpiece?
PDF of Weird Scenes.
Wagging the Moon Doggy. That's he has that on his website. I don't know if it's still there, but the entire thing is up there. You can read it on the website for free. And that's his argument about the moon landing being faked. And what was really revelatory for me is he times it where there were big controversies happening in Vietnam every time they staged a moon landing. So it was like a distracting mechanism, as well as
they wouldn't do that. That's just a coincidence. Come on.
Says the Freemason.
I mean, mostly Freemasons have been on the moon, right?
Yes, indeed.
It feels like the squares. Let me know if it's still clipping. Like, do something like tug on your ear, like Natalie. But no, it's yeah. No, there's I'm sorry. Continue. I had something to say, but I lost it. Oh, it's still happening.
It just happened for a second when I pulled my ear, so it wasn't that big. We just gotta get you a new cable. Somebody send David a new cable. Send Xirtus donations at Xirtus.com, and I will get David a new cable. That's
indeed do that. In the meantime, last time we checked it out after, and it was fine. So I don't know if there's something about when you connect the StreamYard, David. Like,
because I was doing another show and I didn't have this problem at all.
So maybe just disconnect and come back. And maybe
it's because David's voice is too powerful, and so eventually it wears down copper. Actually,
all right. I am going to bounce out.
Nice.
Oh man! All right, he'll return. In the meantime,
thank God I finally got rid of him. Wasn't that sick? That was sick.
All right. Now back to Zionism. No, I'm just kidding. What if we just take like a moment to ground ourselves here and just ask like a kind of serious question, like is Candace Owens hot? Like, because I think she's cute and all, but then the things she says now are just so hyphy. Like, I guess I should just play like the audio for a second to hear. Like, she's gone like full on. Like, this is a mainstream person who's as schizophrenic as the rest of us.
The AI, I have always sensed it's demonic because I'm telling you, I don't even think these people are human. Like, I look at Elon Musk and Sam Altman and Peter Thiel, and I'm pretty sure they're hybrid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. How awesome is that? She's like calling out Hyperborea.
I got a semi.
Dude.
Crowley proteges who were establishment of Hollywood. It was all cults. They were all Aleister Crowley proteges who were just raping kids and summoning demons. And
this is like I like here though is that
this makes me feel like a father. You know what I mean? And like this is our little girl, and she's all grown up, and she's speaking for herself now.
Well, not just that. It's Candace Owens is the new David Icke, and how wild is that, right? Like that. It's kind of taking that torch.
I'm fine with that. I think that's great. I think that's
she's a turning point David Icke in a weird way, and I think
kind of like in South Park, the Panderverse, right, where you have like diverse ethnic female replace all the white males, because she does like what Nick Fuentes does better, you know. At this point, I'm not like criticizing her, or am I? I guess I am, but I'm also not complaining, I guess, because I think it's kind of cool. Like I appreciate that this is happening. It's kind of interesting to me, but it feels like weird somehow. That's all I'm saying. You seen this, right?
Asking questions. That's all she's doing, right?
Is she though? Like, I feel like she's more like popularizing 30-year-old Ike texts. That's what.
Well, Ike shared it, which was pretty funny. I kind of enjoyed. He was kind of like, "Well, that's very cute, but you know, I've been doing this for 40 years," and kind
Yeah,
of
exactly. This is
You don't know
exactly. It's
how
like
deep it
Sarcastic, by
goes.
the way. That was
It's-
that was like a rhetorical, sarcastic injection there. 'Cause
You're sure you sound better, but you're super low right now.
here. Yeah, let me turn it up
that's
for you.
because I changed out the noise cancellation and turned.
Here, I just turned you up digitally. Keep talking
Oh.
for a second.
Okay, does it sound a little better? Yeah, maybe I figured maybe the noise cancellation because I'm like, well, what's different here than what I'm doing it elsewhere?
Because it tends to come in when you start talking. That's when it tends to break.
Okay,
in.
well,
Maybe it
I
is
just
noise cancellation.
so yeah, no, I was being kind of sarcastic there because she's clearly not just asking questions, but that's always there's like a South Park with that. I think it was a play on Glenn Beck, but
Right.
it feels like it's about Alex Jones, where like Cartman gets his own show for the morning announcements, you know, and he's just like, I'm just asking questions. I think it's Dances with Smurfs is the episode. But you know, she clearly has a jump to conclusions, Matt, and some of it is just so over the top hilarious. The thing where Charlie Kirk came to her in a dream. And like I'm like, I don't know if you guys like, you know, realize like not you guys, but like the larger audience who are, you know, Christian, like
You
how,
Christian white males, you.
how
yeah.
that's generally related to because there's specific passages that relate to if you get contacted by a dead person in a dream that this is potentially a demon. And
Yeah,
so there's
a
like all,
Dybbuk.
yeah, a Dybbuk. So it's
Seriously.
like it's the whole thing is like, are you sure that that was Charlie? Or
Yeah.
and I'm just saying what a psychoanalyst would argue, it's probably your own conscience. Because she's
Or a
like,
Dybbuk.
Charlie said that somebody's betraying him. And I'm like, maybe you're trying to tell you something. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you know. I don't know.
Also,
Get that
yeah,
Frankfurt Freudian crap out of here, though.
you know, remember Joseph Smith's thing is like to shake the hand of it. If it can shake your hand properly, then it's probably not evil. 'Cause
That's
it's like
very
Oh,
corporeal.
Masonic, by the
Do
way.
you think that
Yeah.
this partly has to do with the fact that she's now has the responsibility of raising multiple children and young children, and like she has this show, she has to take time off sometimes to be there for her children. Like I'm just saying, like your incentive, like comparing Candace now to Candace before, like what's different other than the fact that she's just aged a bit? Seems like she has this incentive, like you know, like now she has a future that she has. These kids are going to have to go to, you know, I don't know. They got lives ahead of them, and she needs to make sure.
Well, that's part of it. Obviously, it would be like real dynamic. But another thing too is that even when she got really popular, she herself kind of, at least her persona, said that it was like a recent conversion. Like she had been kind of the Democrat by default her entire life, and then like a year or two before she gets onto the national platform, now she's like, okay, I'm starting to go this way, and look at all this controversy I'm causing just because I'm saying what people that you know are expecting me to have a certain political opinion, and I'm saying the exact opposite. So now we've got a version of her that has actually had time to digest and look into all the different avenues and flavors and your favorite brands and your favorite, like who makes the best burger in the conspiracy world. And like this is kind of the one that she's attached to right now, is that she's going down this demonic interdimensional like hardcore conspiracy rabbit hole. But I don't think that means that she has to live here forever. She could just be passing through.
Well, we touched on something fascinating there. There's something fascinating came up. If a demon needs to be able to, like, if it can't shake your hand properly, it's a demon. And she's talking about AI being full of demons. What's the AI art tell for it being AI? Is that they can't draw the hands, right?
Oh, that's so old, bro. You're like a year behind now.
Yeah, I know. But still, it's interesting, right?
Right. I saw somebody on Tucker Carlson talking about their interpretation of Kabbalah as it relates to AI. And I was just like, clearly neither Tucker nor his guest has ever looked at Zohar directly or commentary on the Zohar, because they're almost there. Like they get that like AI is applicable to Kabbalah, but the whole like
the whole premise of it being artificial,
is one of like, hey, you got a replication. Don't take this is blasphemy as far as Kabbalah goes, is to take the replication to be the thing in itself, as Kant would later say, right? So it's like, but
hold on, David, hear me out, because I know exactly where you're going with this line of logic,
because you know me.
But couldn't an AI, like a highly advanced AI, couldn't its artificial wrong take on nature be better than our artificial wrong take on nature? Like, couldn't it at least
The argument
get us
would be
closer?
that it
So if
is
we're going to screw up anyways, screw up with like the better version of it.
You know,
Right,
that's
but
so Deuteronomic. That's like very Deuteronomic. To believe, and I forget which kind of Islam that is, but there's one kind of Islam that believes that they have connection to God directly, the prophets, and the other, and the Iman, and the other that think, well, this is just the closest we can do, the best we can do. And there's a really different logic there, because if you're going with this is the perfect thing and it's beyond any democratable evolutionary government or ethic, that this is like the objective truth, that's different than saying, well, you know, this is right now one of the smartest guys and he's not perfect, but
I don't know. I mean, because I don't know how true this is, but some people like say Plato didn't necessarily believe in the different like ideal shapes, like the ideal, you know, sphere or whatever. Like maybe he didn't actually believe that existed. It's just that everything else is constructed to try and be this perfect thing, but nothing could ever truly be that perfect thing.
A pretty good example though, right? Because then that just shows those things are beyond existence. That's a huge rule, that we're not evolving towards perfection. We're just trying to reach these abstract, objectively perfect concepts that exist, that are beyond all existence. Like existence is happening after, if you will, those ideas, the ideas of straight lines and rules, like triangles, circles, those things. I mean, there is no perfect straight ruler, but a ruler has evolved to try to be what a straight line has always been thought of. So it's beyond all things.
You know, in Stargate, I think it's Stargate. You guys would know where I think it's James Spader takes the paper. He's illustrating how a wormhole works, and he's like showing how you can fold space into itself. So
doesn't he do like a Mobius strip?
Yeah, he's basically just basically describing a core aspect of Kabbalah in a nutshell.
Folds.
Zachary Henderson in the comments says they will try to get to heaven through Malkut. Well, Malkut is in exile. Malkut is the Shekhinah. So the idea is that Malkut would literally be folded into Tiferet, which is Ze'er. It's her male counterpart, right? For in the communication. So you have a star that's like, bring it back to the hexagram. You have that, but it's actually folded apart from itself. So the core aspects of ourselves, like the masculine and the feminine aspect of ourselves, as far as consciousness goes, consciousness, subconscious, is like pulled apart. So that's why in Jung's ideas, the way that this applies is that we will have external things show up in our world that reflect the divide that exists within ourselves. So it's like attempts from our surroundings to try and reflect back what the disjoint is in our consciousness. And that's what we repress. And then despite all the repressing we can do, the truth is still there. So it will reveal itself through circumstance. And so I would just make the argument that when we're talking about AI, yes, you're right, Thomas, but it's a further extension of that individual disjoint. So if you have a dysfunction that exists in human beings, which is what like the fall would refer to, right? Like this is this perpetual, dysfunction that was set in motion, right? Like way back when, is still playing out. What we would see in everything we build, which starts with the temple, right, is this dysfunction revealing itself in everything that we're manufacturing, and AI would be the epitome of that. So my point is just that if you're saying like that this is some like Kabbalistic conspiracy to try and make AI like the thing, if you actually look at Zohar, that would be the opposite, because the whole warning is that this is blasphemous to take the replication as though it were source, because this is going to be an extension of our own fall. Like we're going to see that show up in the things that we manufacture, everything we build.
But isn't all that still part of the plan ultimately?
That's where Blavatsky would be like the heretic, right? Because Blavatsky said that a lot. Like Blavatsky was like, that was the whole thing with the serpent. She's like, the serpent is the sock puppet of God. Like he's working for God. Don't you see? Like, and this is, right. And there is that Kabbalistic argument that everything is of Hashem.
Well, because maybe correct me if there's a different approach here, but it's either that this was part of the plan, or It's that some human being at some point discovered something better. Like they figured out where God's plan screwed up or where we deviated and he allowed us to deviate. And then you just trust that guy's word that he actually discovered something that no one else has discovered and no one else really noticed until you get like agreement on it. Because otherwise, it's like if this isn't part of the plan, then that means like we know better. We're like, hey, you screwed up. You messed up the recipe. We're gonna like the cake is gonna have to fix itself now.
Right. The argument is one that the defect itself is ultimately part of the plan, which then relates to determinism and free will being ultimately two sides of the same thing. We just can't back up. Like the nature of our consciousness is such as it stands. Not to say that this couldn't change evolutionarily in the future if consciousness itself evolves rather than just growing extra limbs and fins and gills. But like, you know, that the idea is that there's something that's fundamentally flawed, but even that flaw is part of this it's needed for this transition. Like it plays its part, you know. So I don't know, nothing's for naught, and sacrifice would follow that too. Like any sacrifice is not for nothing because of the very nature of like what we are as one developing organism. That's the thing where like Einstein's view of like the purpose of life in his sense of things was that you expand your definition of self to include more and more and more. So you could say ultimately like the highest consciousness would be like we would have this sense of like we are one organism that is developing, and even all of our faults are like part of that development, right? Because they allow the larger organism to troubleshoot of what's actually needed so that it, you know, it can develop this primordial understanding that goes deeper than just like a belief system that actually can like, you know, move us towards that evolutionary advancement, you know?
But I'm more partial to the concept that we're here to be individuals in the first place. Like we're descended from the Godhead and we're incarnating on this planet to experience it from as many different standpoints as possible, you know, and to have those unique experiences. Otherwise, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what's going on.
There's a really good a mental visual that was in a old Rosicrucian book that basically described this point, and it was like, imagine if God really did have a literal finger puppets, like each one of us are the four fingers, and he just sticks them up through the earth up to here, but like we don't see that all four of these are connected. So like they feel like they're individual things arguing with each other and going on about their lives, but like if the whole hand comes up, like it's literally like you're part of the exact same thing. And that was this concept of like God living through different experiences. It's like we're just all little like fingers, I guess. He's fingering us.
The problem with this is because I agree completely with that allegory, but the problem is that when we try to replicate that oneness in the external world, we're actually missing the mark, because each one of those fingers is itself, like you're saying, Noah, has its own identity, it has its own beingness to it, even though ultimately it's connected in this way. To recognize how we're connected is also like how we're different. They come together is the point. We always just want things to be, generally speaking, people want things to be one thing or the other. That's why people are so polarized when it comes to freaking politics and when it comes to identity, and why there is identity politics, and why that's such an insidious thing to be dealing with. Because when we're looking for identity to be like, to try and like be uniform, you know what I mean? Like if like, you know, each house repeats the mold, like you're trying to like repeat a mold, like that's not actually acknowledging like we are diverse and we're also unified, but we're unified energetically while the external is always going to be different. It's like no flower is the same, right? You'll see the same template, but then each expression varies, and like to not acknowledge that is like cult mentality, you know. So, and you can see that with the diversity of thought experiment.
What about carbon atoms, David?
You seen that? Like, good question. But have you seen the
Very
MIT
social
study on diversity of thought with right and left, where it turned out that the right wing has far more diversity of thought? Have you ever seen that model laid out where it gets all like fucking narrow for the left, and like it's a problem because who's calling who a cult? You know what I mean? Like who's the one telling people to cut off relations?
When
with friends
was it
and
always
family
like that?
if
I don't
they
know if it was
agree with you?
always. I wonder if it was always like that. I don't think it was. I feel like
I don't think it was either.
Well,
I think
It's
the opposite.
modern
I
manifestation.
think this modern manifestation comes from the left wing trying to be more and more ingratiating of minority to saturate the minority independent vote, and in the process losing its centric tent, right?
Yeah, I think
And
that's
as
an
they focus
aspect
on that,
of why we got here. I think
and
there's
then
a lot of other
and then
contributing
the amount
factors.
of people that were disenfranchised because the whole point was to try to bring a new, and this is what they do, they try to bring a new audience, like Star Wars. You have a brand people like, you use it to then go after a new audience because you already have your insured audience, which is the young boys. So now you go after young women and adults and everything else. And then in the process, you lose the young boys, right? Or you lose anybody who used to be even
Disney. You're describing Disney and Star Wars, I guess, in the same sentence.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
the
yeah.
same thing now.
And so that's
I
what
was
you
the
can
same way.
easily lose your main audience by trying to appeal to another audience, trying to more saturate your market share. I think that's what the DNC did. Then the GOP had all of these people that were actually disenfranchised from every one of those groups. So it was not just the Mexicans or
Dude.
the Asian Americans. It was like 10% or 20% of all of those groups together. So all of a sudden you had more diversity in the GOP recently, but that might change very quickly because of the Christian right immediately.
Right.
And
There's
Zionism.
also the issue of fear-based decision making, which is like become the baseline of what the DNC is trying to appeal to garner votes. But it's weird because like right now in New York, you got Mamdani basically doing an insurgency. But he's like apparently super tight with like AOC and Bernie, so he looks like an establishment plant in that regard. But there's that's a whole large thing to get into, like his history and his family's history and all this stuff.
Just to be
But
clear,
just, like,
he's the plant because he's infiltrating grassroots AOC and Bernie, or he's a plant because he associates with AOC and Bernie and they're the insiders.
They're establishment Democrats to the max. And
That's
so
that's interesting because their persona is the exact opposite of that.
Right, but they're AstroTurf.
They're fronting their AstroTurf, and so that's why I'm saying, is he also AstroTurf? I'm not saying he is necessarily. I'm just saying like there's signs that he is, but. But that's not the reason I wanted to bring him up. I wanted to bring him up because of the applicability of what's happening right now with him in regards to Sliwa. Because Sliwa would be the insurgency of the right in this case to respond appropriately to this insurgency that's actually being allowed on the left with Mamdani. So Cuomo is super status quo, right? He's already been governor. It's kind of weird. It seems weird to me that you'd go from like governor to running for mayor, but I guess it's New York and the rules are different. Not in terms of what would be allowed, but rules in the sense that like, wow, they're doing that. It just seems kind of odd to me. But whatever the case, like it seems like the smart thing to do if anybody wanted to not have Mamdani, because it looks like he's got it in the bag according to Polymarket and everything else. It's like 90-something% sure thing. But it seems like if there was ever going to be a chance, despite the numbers, because you're looking at 33%, something like that, for Cuomo, and you're looking at like 15% for Mamdani. I mean, excuse me, not Mamdani, for Sliwa. It seems like, and Sliwa is the only one that comes across as like a real New Yorker. Like, listen to him if you watch him during the debate. But like, I'm saying, like, it seems like despite appearances, if we've learned anything, the only possibility to have Mamdani not win, if that's what others wanted, would be for Cuomo to drop out. They would tell you that it would be for Sliwa to drop out, but no one from Sliwa is going to be voting for Cuomo. They would just be like, they're either not going to vote or have a protest vote. So and it's ranked choice. And so I would just argue, like, it seems like once again, you're being faced with this position where everybody's being told, play it safe. We got to, which is fear-based. You're saying, vote for Cuomo if you don't want Mamdani. Well, guess what? If you go that route, what have we seen time and time again? Why did Trump win the presidency twice? Because people aren't going to play, like, when it comes to this lesser of the evils, like, kind of thing that they try to do, it keeps failing. And it seems like the only way for it not to fail is by, like, cheating. Like, I don't know. Like, if it's just literally just left to the voters, I think people want real change. And so you're not, if you try to just like push Cuomo and be like, oh, but his numbers are better. It's not going to happen. People who are voting for Cuomo could vote for Sliwa. People that are voting for Sliwa won't vote for Cuomo. So it seems obvious to me, but they won't do it. So, but whatever.
Well, that's not quid pro Cuomo.
Boo.
He has such a bad history, and everybody knows it around what he did with the nursing homes with COVID and all that freaking, like, You know, and his brother's not any better. His brother's freaking, you
I-
know,
I don't
Sliwa
have
sounds like
a-
such a Star Wars enemy, you know, like
right.
He's a bounty hunter.
yeah.
Right.
I don't think any of us have like a dog in this fight at all. Noah might be
Uh-huh.
the closest, like geographically, to any fallout that happens here, right?
I'm not close to
Like-
anything geographically, believe me.
But Sliwa, like I see so many of the same traits in him as in Trump, and not necessarily as like a
Yeah.
leader, but like there's a legend that's like Bill, but like the closer you look into the roots of that legend, it's like, well, yeah, maybe I made some stuff up to like get things started, but now I'm legit. Now I'm like the guy that I'm like I'm an actual, like, you ever seen the movie The Warriors? Like
Right.
I'm that guy now, and I
I'm
didn't
not
stage
even-
my fights, like, at least not after the first 5 or 6.
I'm not trying to campaign for anybody here. I'm literally just describing a dynamic that reoccurs, and it has to do with one side allowing for an insurgency and the other side being, no, we're going to play it safe. And so it's just like, it's just an issue, not even just sides. It's just, this is what people want. People want an insurgency, generally speaking, like the massive people. And if you allow for one party to be like, okay, we're going to let this happen, and then the other party's like, no, we're going to play it safe, you know, like, it's just dumb. But it seems like maybe that's even from the Democrats. It's like part of the strategy to get Mamdani in is just to have Cuomo there also, to divide the vote in the ranked choice and just make it go in this direction. So it could be part of their plan. It probably is.
I mean, I respect your independent voice, David, but I think you need to come into the totality of the rest of us and increase the volume of your mic a little bit. You
Oh,
need to
yeah.
do one-
That was something I was supposed to bring up. So hey, we're using FChat. FChat is still beautiful and still wonderful. And now you can actually watch the videos in the FChat. So you can start playing it if you're like on your phone or something like that. You can play the YouTube video directly in FChat while you talk, so that you're uncensored chat. And that's where we heard that from Jedi that Dave needs to turn the mic up a smidge. So
Okay.
now you're what happened?
Am I too loud?
No, you're mono. You're in only the left channel.
Really?
Whoop.
Yeah.
What did I just do? That's weird.
Shame.
Well,
It
he's finally
sounds
picked a
buttery,
side.
though.
You know, he's back to the left. David has gone back to the left.
There's probably a
Back and
stereo button you can push, right?
Yeah. if I
Stereo
go
auto?
Back into, I have to, yeah.
Oh, brother.
I'll
Let's
figure it out.
let's mix
You
the rest of
sound
the
great,
episode.
Mom.
It's set up with stereo, so I
Well,
don't
can
know.
we just mix the rest of the episode like it's an old Beatles album, and like me and Andreas will be hard right, and you and Thomas will be hard left?
I thought there was something wrong with my stereo when I first played Beatles records. I was like, this isn't right. This isn't. What were they thinking? Oh, that's right. They were on
My
drugs.
volume went all the
Yeah,
way up
yeah.
like that. Okay. How is it now? Is it better?
It's just mono. It's only in the left channel.
Can you jiggle?
weird,
Is there a
because-
cable you can jiggle or twist?
Yeah, I don't know if yeah. I turned
Well,
the
I guess
volume
not.
way
If
Crazy.
it's from your microphone, then probably not. Yeah.
David has such intense Trump derangement syndrome. You'll only talk out of the left now. It's wild.
Did you click on the stereo button? There's a stereo
Yeah,
audio.
I clicked on it and I clicked on it again. Yeah.
Oh my
Maybe I should
God.
stop bringing up your audio quality. We just keep fixing one thing and introducing new issues.
Did Mercury just enter retrograde, Noah?
I don't think so, actually. I should check.
Like just now?
That would be funny. It's coming up. We're getting there. I don't think yet, though. I
Well,
will check.
I have the next comment, but I'm gonna wait just a second because I want David to try to be here.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. It's not even in. It's gonna go retrograde in Sagittarius, I think, though. Yeah, in Sag.
Can you
So
say that in
it's
English?
David sensing it before it happens.
Poor David.
We're in the shadow. In the shadow.
Well, I guess we'll just. All right, here he comes.
All right. Is
No.
that better?
No.
No.
What happened to your right channel?
I have no idea. I put in stereo.
It's
Turn
honestly, I can hear you better now than before, anyways. So I
Turn
don't
off
find-
stereo, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't be on. And you're muted now. This is fun.
Okay, how's that now? Is it
That's
better?
better.
There we go.
right?
We're
Turned
back.
off stereo. Yeah.
But now it needs to be louder.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Shit. Okay. How's that? Is that better? Better?
That's
check,
good.
Check, 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 check.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
gonna,
complain, Phil.
I'm gonna
I-
turn off your automatic volume level and turn it up. Go and talk.
Okay, check, check, check.
There we go. We're back, baby.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
fed up with David being such a centrist. You got to pick a
I
side.
don't want to. I want to talk about stuff. I don't want to be talking about my audio. Okay, what do we got?
3i, or I3 Atlas. I mean, so everyone's been talking about the Surge Monast blue beam potential of this event. That this is some sort of a unifying psyop or something to that effect. That the third interstellar object after Oumuamua and that's making strange phenomenon. Michio Kaku saying that it could reveal intelligent life because it seems to boomerang towards an interstellar object like a star and then radiate itself until it's white hot, and then it flings off like a boomerang as if it's been charging itself off of Sol Invictus and other stars like our sun.
I mean, I'll just say for myself, I'm so over them making a big deal about, oh, this is going to be the big thing. It's never seen this type of comet before. I don't know. I'm honestly, I haven't gotten into it yet, because every time I see something like that, I'm like, it's clickbaity. It's going to turn into nothing. At least
it's like a weaker version of apocalyptic theories of like doomsday scenarios where it's not going to destroy us all, but it's going to change everything. Like that's kind of the premise. And that's like the forever clickbait, man. Like pretty much every culture has gone through those clickbait cycles.
You know, Melancholia, where Charlotte Gainsbourg is like there with Kiefer Sutherland, and he's just like, this is all just fear. It's fake. You know, those aren't real scientists. And she's like, she's looking online. She's like, these are real scientists saying this. it's like that's, I don't know. It's a beautiful story about the end of the world, but it feels like so like true. This is exactly what would happen. You'd have the guy that's insisting that this is all pseudoscience baloney is the guy that takes all the death pills so that no one else gets any, and he's just gonna die in the horse stall. You know what I mean? Like it's just like that's what I would expect from that. You know.
Man, if the Earth was going to end because another planet was going to crash into it, don't you think you'd want to experience that? Like,
yeah,
I don't think
how much you get to.
Actually, it's a good point, because another part of this doomsday stuff, or even this, like we're gonna be here for the biggest event ever, like this extraterrestrial. It's very like egotistical to think that it's gonna happen for me. I'm gonna be able to see this in my lifetime. It's very me kind of mentality. So I don't know if it happens, then it happens. But chances are,
grateful I gotta live at the same time as David Bowie for a while there. Like that's crazy.
that is, yeah, you can die now.
Wild.
Yeah.
If you think about it, 500 years ago, people were expecting Jesus to return, you know, so they wanted to have some sort of angels coming down, and they were afraid of demons. They thought demons could show up and that they would interact with them. And there's a lot of paintings and everything. And you can even go back further, look at the Mesopotamians and people wrestling with angels and God. The idea these are very physical, corporeal beings, the angels and demons, and there's something to like fear, respect, and worry about. And the Elohim and God and all these things, right? Like there was a kind of an archetype that was described. 100 years ago, you have like the Russian cosmism period, and the Soviets are rejecting the church and state relation. So they're trying to become atheists, but cosmism wasn't really atheism. It was sort of secular, superstitious, metaphysical, a new religion that was being created by Soviet atheists. And everyone could have their own beliefs because it didn't have an organization. So everyone was already superstitious because they had already had religious background, but they were allowed to think their own things using science. And this was dangerous to the Russians. So they, in the 50s, created scientific atheism. And scientific atheism is this idea that we have a truth, an empirical truth that you can put faith in, that you have to trust the science. That all comes from that 1950s period where they really start pushing vaccinology, antibiotics, different kinds of pasteurization and health processes, chlorine, bleach.
What year are we talking about, and how close is it to Rudolf Steiner's time?
So this is still Steiner time, but later Steiner time. So this would be like the 50s, basically. So
it just seems like this would be something that Rudolf Steiner would be reacting to from passages that I've read. Like this sounds like, you know, because it would actually explain a lot, that it's not just, isn't just like coming from like America, you know, like from his
right.
kind of cosmology, you know, like of how he relates to his own spiritualism, but then treating it that the vaccination thing, that this is this anti-God, you know, and like
Right. And it's weird to try to explain it to kids today because kids don't have the same beliefs we did. Like we ate Hot Pockets generation. Because if you remember, food that said had 97% less fat and had a new chemical meant a good thing. Before COVID-19, people used to really trust in science a lot more than they do now. And
Up until Olean, when Olean came out in the late 90s, that's when consumer confidence dropped. Because then they had to start being like, may cause, you know, like, what was it, like rectal leakage or something, like literally on your food package. I think that was the moment, if you had to pinpoint it.
Yeah.
But even then people continued like to believe in it, but that was when it started for sure. And all of a sudden organic products were more expensive and they were being marketed as cooler. But up until that point, we thought, hey, science is a amazing thing married to capitalism. So they're making money off of making the world a better place. We've solved the system. That was essentially the American dream. And I think a lot of people were working towards that.
You remember there was a time, I don't know if you remember, but there was a time early on in the organic food thing where organic didn't cost more.
Right.
It was like the standards were super high for what it had to be for something to be organic. And it became like, it happened so quickly that all of a sudden everybody became a cash cow. And everyone was like, we can charge more if it's certified organic. And while that happened, they also dramatically lowered all the standards for what it meant for something to be organic. And then it cost more. So it's like, wait, the standards were lower and the price went up at the same time. And we're all just supposed to be like, okay, yo, whatever, you know.
I got two things. What if I don't forget the second one by the time I'm done with the first one? First one though, I have to always mention silent running, because whenever someone talks about organic food, that this quote of like, what you mean, like food that comes from dirt? It's kind of got like, because they've evolved so far beyond like organic plant matter. And I forgot the second one.
Dern.
I'm sorry.
What's that guy's name? Bruce Dern. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that is like the Huey, Dewey, Louie thing. That is like, that movie's got to be. Andreas, is that like one of your all-time? Like,
yeah. And Jordan from Divulgence just watched it on Blu-ray.
Okay,
recently,
and it's basically the prequel to WALL-E too. If you watch WALL-E, like it's basically silent. And the other thing I was thinking of is we're talking about the high cost of, here's a sync for you, high cost of organic produce. The most expensive place you could get that from is probably Erewhon, right? Which is this like high-end like supermarket. And Erewhon is also the name of a book by Samuel Butler from like the 1870s, and it's one of the very first depictions. It's even before like Arthur C. Clarke's Robot Rules or whatever. Like in 1874, Sam Butler wrote like the rules for cybernetic beings and cyborgs and AI and how to prevent them from encroaching on humanity. So I think there's like another wild sync there too between high-priced groceries and AI.
Yeah, well, speaking of high prices, I think I've talked about this before here, but I'll talk about it again because it's relevant, is, that argument for why it's Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's Saturn and Beyond the Infinite, so to speak, in the book where it's Saturn, how that relates Kabbalistically, because throughout that movie, you're ascending up the tree, right, in terms of the planetary bodies, right? And so at that point of Jupiter, would be the point before you cross the abyss, so that Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite would be referring to his movement towards the supernal following. But it's like, to switch those Sephiroth out is really applicable. But what's crazy is, speaking of the cost thing, is that the official explanation for why they didn't do a Saturn in the film, but they did Jupiter, is because they said they couldn't afford to make the rings realistic, or they weren't capable of making the rings realistic for Saturn. But if you watch Silent Running, that is the same special effects head of 2001: A Space Odyssey who did that, and he did it on, I believe, less than a quarter of the budget of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and nailed Saturn with so much less resources not long after 2001: A Space Odyssey. I would argue that in all likelihood, the reason why we have this elaborate Saturn in Silent Running is a statement from him to make up for that claim, because he's like, oh really, like I'll show you I can do the thing. You tell me I can't do it, here it is on like a fraction of the budget. Like that wasn't the reason I would argue is for symbolic reasons, but rather than even have to explain that, it's kind of like, you know, where if you ask the Beatles about Sgt. Pepper, they're like, I don't know, we were just on drugs. If you ask David Bowie about Station to Station, he's like, I don't know, I was just on drugs. It's like, you want, because if you do that in the same way, you don't have to explain any further. You're like, no, okay, this is just,
well, it's
like,
better than what Pablo Picasso pulling a gun on you.
The asshole, yeah.
Dramatic guy.
Well, there's like a counter argument. I think you're probably right, David, but there's a counter argument for that like he was trying to work on Saturn and they're like, we don't have enough time for this. We're going ahead, which I don't believe, but I'm just.
They never said that though. They said it was a cost issue.
There'd be a reason that you would use Saturn because Saturn swallows and Jupiter's the sun.
Never ever did anything based on time. He never argued that he would do anything based on time. It was like, we're going to take as much time as we need. If we're going to have to film this shot 100 times, I don't care.
But I think Space Odyssey is the first film he had that freedom, right? Like before that, I don't think he had infinite budgets and infinite time.
No, it's everything that followed Spartacus they gave him.
Exactly. So he did have the freedom there, but I don't know. I could see how, just as a counter argument, just for the sake of making it, how that guy was thinking about how to do Saturn, and they're like, we don't have enough time, we don't have the budget.
I think they probably just weren't going to use Saturn because Saturn represents like the swallowing of the gods, and Jupiter is the Christ.
Yeah,
so
it makes sense.
Wouldn't Saturn though be the no kings because Jupiter would be the king?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But also because Saturn is opposed the sun, right? Saturn's rulership is
dude, you just gotta. That's a meme, dude. Just take the symbol from the painting of Saturn eating his child and just put the no kings logo on top of it.
Deep cut.
But I mean, it's also
6-7.
It's also a big part of royalty, right? Because it is actually the Saturn kills Uranus and then Jupiter kills Saturn, and then where we leave off in the mythology is Jupiter's paranoid about Mars. He's like, Mars is going to take me out, and so it is actually about kings. It's king kill, right?
Why does that feel like 7, 8, 9? 6 is afraid of 7. Why? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
6, 7, man.
You're like, well, actually, you got Mars over here. You know, this isn't as simple as, you know.
We have to look into 6, 7. I'll get 6. Or the ordinal gematria of alchemy is 6, 7.
Is there like a mythological version of Kuru? Like if you keep eating your own kid over and over, that eventually it like comes back to bite you? Is that what Athena was? Like Athena was like a tumor, like a Kuru tumor that came out of the brain? I don't know.
And yet Athena was Jupiter's favorite. So it's interesting.
That child,
but also would advocate for the humans, right? Athena advocated for humans a lot, which is really interesting.
Well, I just want to harp on my point, what I was trying to make, which was with the 3i situation.
Oh, yeah.
So you had Christian religious beliefs about angels and demons, which were some are good and some are bad. Then you have this cosmic period where people are interested in meeting extraterrestrials generally. And then you have a religious period called scientific atheism, where all of a sudden we're taught to believe not just about science, but also about the stars and space, and that there are certainly other worlds out there and very probably extraterrestrials will interact with. And now we're getting this sort of surge in Manas Project Bluebeam period where they're saying in November, right? That's been the prediction for a year or something now, that there would be some sort of an event, either, the Oumuamua or the I3, I keep saying it backwards. So I wonder, because if you're taught that it's not an angel or a demon and you don't have to worry about that, but at the same time we have the same belief structure now, because there's this extraterrestrial, it's supposed to make contact with us. It could be ET or it could be the dark forest hypothesis, where we're dealing with evil predators or something in space.
The moral of Poltergeist and ET at the same time, right? So, but you guys have probably read Childhood's End. You have Arthur C. Clarke's book, Childhood's End.
I actually never read it.
I've seen the adaptation.
Okay, it's like a day's read though, and it's encoded in the Hypnosis cover of Houses of the Holy from Led Zeppelin. Like that was his explanation of that. But in that book, just so you know, the premise in Childhood's End, it, I don't
I'm sorry, David.
was that they
Must be
were
very
that
hard for you.
they show up and they're demons. So the aliens show up. It's like it's basically starts out with the same premise as how Independence Day starts out, where these motherships land at power centers around the world and just hang out for a while, and everyone's like, "What's going on? Why are there these giant ships?" And then when they finally show themselves, like halfway through the book, they are demons. Like they got horns, they got the tails. They're like classic demon. And their explanation, Arthur C. Clarke, is like, well, this is where the symbolism of the demon came from, was that these entities visited us long ago, these aliens, and they're just, we recorded them as such, and they became like a religious thing, when really, like, what is, who's to say what's what? That's a very Crowleyan idea too, of like, not that he was alone with this, but he's like, we called them demons now, or we could call them aliens, but they're all the same thing. It's just describing these entities. But it feels applicable to what you're saying, Andreas. But like, they're not even bad, like necessarily, like in Childhood's End. Like you don't know, like you're left hanging, and then they eventually go to their planet, and it's like, no, these are just superior beings, which is very relatable to Prometheus, like those creatures that like seeded us here for humanity, like. What Arthur C. Clarke was kind of getting at feels very similar to the Promethean idea. I'm saying really Scott's Prometheus.
The progenitors, yeah.
Well, I'm interested on a Kabbalistic view of Prometheus. Wouldn't Prometheus be like one of the original like catalysts for the downfall of like, hey, here's this artificial fire, here's the sun, you can use it for because another Rosicrucian, maybe a deep cut version, but is that at some point in human history that biologically our skin was the biggest organ that also had more than just touch. You could taste, see, and smell and hear through your skin. And then as soon as fire became close to us, it was so violent. It was like an overload of our senses. So now our sight had to like retreat into like a little cavern that it could hide itself from light, and that our taste had to hide and retreat.
Freudian, dude. Like the idea of it's like
you're a Freud.
With being promorphously perverse, right? Where
are you a Freud of the
whole point is that in Freudian psychology, he's arguing that there is this thing that's entertained, and it's not just Freud, it's people who followed in his footsteps, right? Would argue that the same timeline that you see in a individual human life's development is actually a replication, in a sense, of what the whole of human history is. So that when the baby's born, it's promorphously perverse.
You calling me a fish?
Meaning that anywhere you touch it, there's a sensitivity that basically they would argue that it's orgasmic everywhere. And then as it develops, all of that gets consolidated towards the genitals, so that this goes to a single point, tying in with Shakina. There's like this idea, it's the tip, so everything all the attention goes towards that in terms of sensitivity. But he would argue that that this is accompanied by the development of neuroses, is as that gets localized and our consciousness gets localized, which is also an ego thing, to see how does this relate to me? How does this relate to me? Like the ego is just like a central thought, which is an extension of the central sensitivity, where everything gets localized in this direction, and then it's the top and the bottom, right? It's like the pineal gland, like in the Descartes sense, that I think therefore I am. That's one point, and then the other point is like the tip of the genitals. And so one is Hume's I'm a feeling being, and the other one is I think therefore I am. They coexist. They're two sides of the same thing. But it speaks to what you're saying in terms of the consolidation, that everything gets consolidated. And so you could argue that humanity long ago, right, had this kind of like, total sensitivity, where we were promorphously perverse throughout our lives, like, early development.
And stop looking at me, you're making me orgasm.
Right.
Well,
Totally.
that relates to the fact that Saturn rules the skin, right? Saturn is the edges, it's the boundaries of our visible solar system. Okay. And then if you look into the theories that Saturn used to be the sun, right? You guys are aware of these esoteric theories that Saturn was the sun. So at that point,
a second sun, at least.
Saturn was everything.
Sun. The secret sun, if you will.
There you go. Yeah. So that all of our senses were in our skin relates to that. And then whenever it shifted to having it's like, oh no, it's too dangerous. We need to internalize our senses. They need to be in these recesses in our eyes, in our nose, in our mouth. Then the sun becomes more internal, right? Like it's at the center of our solar system, not on the outside. It's a
Mhm.
completely different thing. It's a more, it's a reaction to a more dangerous worldview. And Saturn is protective, right? It's the great malefic, but it protects us. It soaks up all the meteors coming at all the, like, a lot of the dangerous
Right.
space junk.
Right.
It's a
Well, I
barrier.
have a beef with the way that Saturn gets propagated in the esoteric schools because there's a radical shift, the fundamental shift that happens, but from the Greeks to what was prior. So all the symbolism associated with Saturn, if you go back further, is feminine in nature,
Yeah.
and it has to do with receptivity. And then you have the exact opposite occurring with the Greeks and everything that followed. And so when people sometimes do the Saturn death cult analysis, I'm totally down to acknowledge that there's probably crazy secret society that's all about that or whatever. Like, I'm not ruling that out in any way. But at the same time, if you're arguing that this is about Saturn and not about our own projection, that's where they lose me. Because I would argue that this is just what are you saying that this is, like, by projecting anything you want onto it? Like, what are we even talking about? Like, what is Saturn to you if beyond your belief system? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? Like, in your life, like,
Well,
Well, I mean,
the hexagon on the pole, right? The idea we talked about earlier that maybe there's a portal or some sort of a fold that's going on, and that Saturn's like a doorway.
right, which would explain, like, if there was something in, like, the metaphysical realm like that, like, even like what I was saying earlier about Burroughs, like, traveling without a spaceship, like what meditation ultimately can be. Like, if this is something that, like, awaits thirsty humanity, is this transcendence that actually relates specifically to Saturn, doesn't it make sense that there would be some crazy cult that would want to, like, manipulate our relationship to that and make us, like, encourage an aversion to the very thing that would be tied to our own evolutionary advancement? You know what I mean? Like, to keep
Well,
us in that prison planet, like
I mean,
that. Yeah.
for me, it's not hypothetical. I mean, I track the transits of Saturn, and they are very restrictive and depressing.
As every
So, I mean-
Canadian is required to do by law.
That's true. When I'm prime minister, just you wait. No, I mean, you track it and it happens. I mean, you look at someone's Saturn return when they're somewhere between the ages of 27 and a half to 30. And I mean, that's going to be one of the most life-changing moments of most people's lives. I mean, you get someone's chart and you be like, yeah, this date here. And they'll be like, oh yeah, my dad died. Yeah, that's very literal. But I mean, I'm also on board with the idea of Saturn being feminine because that creates perfect balance within the planets, within the 7 classical planets.
I mean, the idea of all of the planets, all the other sons of God, the being inside the belly of Saturn does feel like a very feminine archetype, an inverted one that is like swallowed by the father.
And also Saturn is a castrator. He castrated his father Uranus. So, you can see there's these gender roles playing, and yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Castrated your anus.
And took
well, another interesting thing about that is if you look at the traditional colors that we use for each planet, they tend to be the masculine rulership of each planet, except for Saturn. Saturn is given dark blue indigo, which is Capricorn, not purple for Aquarius.
Right, but if you look at esoteric schools, you can see that's shifted by age and school. So and it always feels if you dig into it, it always looks very intentional the way it gets shifted. And also you'll notice that if you're looking at schools of thought that relate more to mystery rather than secrecy, then those attributions will often reflect like something that's liberating versus oppressive. So like I've seen a bunch of examples as you go through time. If you look at like Golden Dawn or OTO attributions versus like traditional attributions, that sometimes there's like, I mean, it's pretty common that you'll have something that appeared liberating in nature for humanity in the older schools of thought, and then something becomes more like, there's no way out, you're screwed, like more like samsara type shit coming later, and I think it's connected to that. This is my own personal leap, but in my assessment, but I feel like there's something about when there's a mystery school that's relating to something as mystery versus a mystery school that's like, we hold the secret and all the ego that's attached to that, or dangling it like, if you follow through these grades, you might be lucky enough to get the secret from us, the holders of the secret. It just, it's fundamentally different.
There's also a powerful argument for the idea of the Saturn cults being about getting past Saturn. So it's not really about worshiping Saturn so much as you have to satisfy Saturn's Saturn's like his standards, basically, right?
Restrictive nature or something. Yeah.
Well, more than restrictive, because Saturn is also the bones and scaffolding of anything you want to build. You need Saturnine discipline in order to create anything. So it's like you have to satisfy what Saturn needs.
Oh, that makes sense. I see what you're saying. Like I was thinking more Scorpio, and you're over here talking about Capricorn. Okay.
Well, it's Scorpio season, but
no, that's Mars. But what Saturn is only corresponds to Capricorn. How does that work? No,
Capricorn and Aquarius.
And Aquarius. Thank you. Sorry.
Which are the winter months, because Saturn is also the root. The root of anything is Saturn. And that's because the whole idea of Saturn is you take all the energy you can when the sun is out and you bring it back down to the root to survive the winter. Because Saturn is the 2 coldest months of the year. So gotcha. it all relates perfectly with the seasons in the northern hemisphere.
Well, it's a sign of Capricorn is a sign of initiation. And so I think that's the thing with like the treatment of Saturn. Like, what does it mean to be initiated? Like, if you're initiated and you're relating that you got the secret thing and now you're the holder of the secret, that's quite a qualitative difference to like, you know, you've uncovered the mystery and it turns out it was open the whole time. You know, all you had to do is click your heels and say there's no place like home.
You just had to look inside yourself.
Yeah, you had to look inside. Well, you've been sitting on a box your whole life. Have you ever looked in the box? Like, you know?
Here, this is kind of one of my favorite parts of Freemasonry, though, is that in like surface level Freemasonry, first 3 degrees of Blue Lodge, you get in there and they're like, all right, here's the news. I'm gonna have to break it to you slowly. Like, we had the secret. We freaking had it, bro. But someone lost it, and now we need help finding it. And like when we find it, you'll find, like, we'll all find it together as long as you help look for it. But there's not a pretense of like, and once you get to level X or 33, then then we'll unveil this curtain. It's not like a Mormon handshake that comes through. It's like, bro, we screwed up. Like someone Butterfingers Hiram Abiff over here like slipped and dropped the secret, and now
Hiram Butterfingers Abiff. I feel like that's
it's just everybody on MySpace just lost their profile.
What you're looking for is, we all know it's the phallus of Osiris, right? That's the secret that slipped through your fingers.
I never drop a phallus out of these fingers, bud. Not me.
Well, not your own, but whatever. I don't know.
They have to,
where we're going with this.
I love that it's about, we have to discover the truth together, and so we're going to forge like a community that with some trust, and we're going to be explorative together. That's neat.
How sweet and neat are the Masons? Yes,
you'd fit right in, man. Those soft little hands of yours, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. That's very relatable to the school of thought in the later Kabbalistic school that has the Tzimtzum and all of that, like the Ezekiel school, because there's the idea of like that everything was that the shells were broken apart, and our job is to bring them back together, and we have to work together to achieve that. So you have like that's a different relationship to the fall, where it's like this thing fractured apart, but we have to mend it. The consciousness needs to be mended, and we're all going to contribute to that, which is very resonant with like even the Freemasonic idea of the great work, right? Like, I don't think they were the originators of that idea that we're all working towards the same end together, and to try and
just like Pythagoras didn't invent music theory. I think there's like a correlation between those two a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his
can you imagine Pythagoras getting drunk at a bar and being like, "You like that? You like what you're hearing right now? You're welcome. That was me." Before this, they just clapped.
Well, he discovered the relationship between the idea that when you have any vibrating substance, that becomes the octave. That's the same note at double the frequency, and so he connected by holding up strings with different weights on the bottom of them for different tensions and such.
Right.
That's why they're called chords.
Right.
Clearly jacked from African, same thing as Archimedes, right? Archimedes' spiral is just the Alexandrian spiral. And you should just put your name on something. That's the way to do it. Like Xirtus MP3.
Doesn't Archimedes just like scream of like the equivalent of like our tall tales? Like it's like, I don't know. I have a hard.
He was like naked in a bathtub. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. The whole thing just kind of gets outlandish, and it's not just that the weight over volume or whatever, weight over. How do you do it? Was it?
Well, it was different weights.
Density to determine density, it's weight over volume. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
This is a way left turn from what we were talking about, but it relates to something earlier. Have you guys heard of the Chrononautic Society? You guys know what that is?
Oh, that sounds familiar. What is that? Chrononautic.
Time and water.
I'd come across this years ago, and this just came up for me yesterday, and it related to a bunch of stuff. So this was this guy who in the 70s decided that he was working on a time machine. So he's saying he's working on a time machine, right? But his time machine was to throw a party, okay, that he was going to advertise for years and years so that there would be enough media surrounding it that time travelers in the future would show up and that would be his time machine. Because he'd be like, we're hosting a party for the time travelers. Right. And so he was like trying to like broadcast. He has his own club. I don't know if this
they made a movie on this. It was called Field of Dreams.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
but it's
totally.
obviously Chrono for Chronos, which
Yes.
is the god of time, right? So that's what he's doing.
Which is where I was-
Chrononaut Club. This guy is high.
So what?
Saturn.
Yeah. So I was reading this old like Linda Goodman, the most popular pop astrologer of all time. Like she made millions of dollars, right, doing sun sign
So,
astrology.
but then just to
So
clarify for everybody, so Saturn is Chronos, right? So this is a Saturnaut club.
Yeah, when Saturn's the Lord of Time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading this book, right, of like pop astrology from the 70s, which is this amazing time capsule of just new age thought in the 70s to begin with. I don't agree with all of it, but it's really a fun read. So so she's writing about this guy as a prime example of Aquarius thought, by the way. We were talking about Aquarius. Okay, so he plans this thing years in advance, and it's planned for, I think, May 10th, 1982. Okay, now Chris Knowles is working on this thing. He's obsessed with the idea that like 1983 is the year that broke reality, that like something shifted in 1983, which is interesting to me because
it seems pretty obvious.
Yeah,
I mean, Care Bears and everything.
Who was born there? Because in the early 80s, that was the tightest arrangement of planets we'll have for thousands of years. They were all on the fall sign, the yin side of the zodiac. Okay, and so what he timed it was for the heliocentric view. So that because Mercury and Venus from the geocentric view are always tracking the sun, right? They're always close to the sun. But he was looking at it heliocentrically and found a time where they were all on one side of the Earth included, all on one side of the sun. Okay. And he thought this would be a very pretentious time and it makes sense. It's communal, right? The fall signs are very communal. It's all about community. But what blew my mind is I've been doing all this heavy research into Philip K. Dick. Okay. Now, how much of a Philip K. Dick concept is this time traveler? Because he also famously in Three Stigmata has the aliens being humans from the future. Right? The aliens turn out to be us from the future. And this guy's trying to meet us from the future as aliens. And he plans this years in advance. And it's a week after Philip K. Dick dies.
Interesting.
Which blew my mind. And this all came up for me this week as I finished this massive article.
That's exactly what's going on. Just spoiler. That's the real...
I had that on ayahuasca one time where I just got this sudden like visual of like a gray alien over me. Like I'm like laying down in the dark and I could just see that face and I was like, oh shit, it's our face. I was like, that's where we're headed and it's the future looking back at us and being like, everyone's going to keep fucking each other till we're all the same color. I was like, this is where it's all going. And I was like, yeah, it's just like the consciousness, like, just like, you know, because time isn't ultimately linear, you know, and like, we're just seeing ourselves, like looking back at us. And like, it would make sense when we go into like paralysis states and then we would think that we were abducted. We were really just like, basically like, you know, feeling the energy moving through our bowels. And we're like, it's, you know, gotta, you know, what do they call that thing that you're getting a colonoscopy when really it's just like your consciousness is just like moving through your body and getting like a probe, like you're getting like a view of like an energetic thing is taking place internally. You're like basically being scanned from the inside, but you're getting a kind of a projection extending out of that sensation about what we're ultimately all going to be in terms of our evolutionary development. And I like the idea of the grays being us.
Well, can we pick a better color then instead of gray? Can we all make better choices now for our future genetics?
I mean, if we're light beings in the future,
right,
the easiest thing will be to go to a different body. So you would have multiple bodies, and a gray would be a practical body because it doesn't have emotions or feelings, so it doesn't feel lonely in hyperspace for millions of years traveling at light speed or something like that, right?
The who was
It can just sit there and
the
wait.
Secretary of Defense for Canada who ended up being this whistleblower about alien stuff? Like, I believe he argued that what we see as the gray alien is actually an organically generated. It's organic, but it's a generated suit from these interdimensional beings in order for them to correspond with us in this dimension.
Which is why if you're ever doing like astral meditation or something like that, it's always good to have like a housewife watching Oprah or soap opera somewhere nearby, because the grays are looking for something they can feel through, right? And if there's something better in the area, then they're like, oh well, I'd rather, because if something that it can't do includes feeling emotions, eating, having sensations of food, then possession is, 9/10 of the law.
That could be all of us though, right? Like all of us could just be like hermit crabs that happen to all find shells that worked. And then there's like the elite that found like the cool intergalactic shells. Like they got the cooler meat suits.
They didn't make them.
Or they moved from one to the other, like Get Out style,
It's very, it reminds me of Moonchild too. Isn't this how you make like a Moonchild? Is that you create a vessel that attracts these disenfranchised spirits that need like another body, and you're like, hey, check out this sweet baby, jump into this one.
Right. Or like Alice Cooper trying to, continue the lineage of Elvis's soul collectively,
Oh, I didn't know about that. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You think you want to know about it, but things will happen to you if you know too much about it. They'll find you. They don't have to look very far.
Stop asking about the chair company.
Ooh, it's so good. Today's Sunday, dude. We get the 3rd episode today. I'm excited, dude. I'm all about it. That's my kind of suspense, man. I want to get down to the bottom of what's happening with this freaking chair company, dude.
I've only seen the first episode. I have to see the second one. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't. There are people who like Neil Diamond, and there are those who don't. My ex-wife, she loved him. Are you saying that your wife didn't leave you because you like Tim Robinson, but you
left her because of Tim?
I'm sorry. He's funny, dude. Yeah.
What about the end of the government? So like the shutdown. Do you have any thoughts on this? 2016.
Oh, I've actually had some personal experience in this one because I went to Yellowstone for the last like week or so, and there was a lot of uncertainty. It was like, how is this going to affect the park workers? Can you get in the park? Like, what happens if someone gets lost or hurt, whatever? It's great, man. The government should shut down indefinitely and forever. You got to just go in for free and you got to leave for free, and the facilities were still there. You could still poop in holes. Like there's nothing changed with that. And it just made me think, like, I don't know, maybe this is part of being pro small government is like, let the government shut down. They're just going to print their own money that they need anyways. They're just fighting over who gets to play with some of the printed money. That's the only real issue, right?
I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Does Congress still get money during the shutdown? They do, don't they?
I think they don't care. Yeah.
What's their incentive?
So act like the very bottom ground workers, they'll get furloughed with no back pay. But the higher you go up in the chain, at some point the furlough remains, but the back pay comes in, and then at even higher points, the furlough goes away, and then you don't have to worry about the back pay. So like, I'm pretty sure that people that are high up enough that they have enough income coming in, and it's not like they make money from the government cutting them a paycheck anyways. That's not how, like, the president makes what, $200,000 and Donald Trump's like, I'll donate it all.
Right, because he's making enough money.
Because that's literally just like one round trip to Japan for him, and like on his jet.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, is that we're tying it back to what's happening with the East Wing. It's like, that apparently is like from donors. Like, and I'm like, even the people with the TDS, it seems like they'd just be happy that he's distracted with that. Like, let him focus on rebuilding the White House. That's not going to affect us. Like, I mean, if they're looking to their view of what's happening with Project 25 and all this stuff, it's like, how is that included? I don't remember anything about a ballroom in the White House in Project 25 propaganda or the actual, whatever they.
You have to imagine the White
Heritage
House, like,
Foundation came up
super
with.
bugged, right? There has to just be like
By Tim Apple.
surveillance just everywhere, and so now he can rebuild. He can knock down walls and build new buildings. So
Well,
he can
isn't
know
this?
what's on the walls.
I have a question. Where is Obama's court? His basketball court?
Basketball
is it in the
court?
east side?
It's not in the building, so it was it's actually just a remodel of the tennis courts. So he didn't. The pictures that they're circulating are actually from like the 30s. They're showing a picture of FDR's rebuild, and you know who else is there's a basement that Nixon installed a basketball court in, and used to have Boy Scouts, bowling alley, and used to have Boy Scouts brought in the middle of the night to the basement of the White House to go bowling. Really loud bowling pins being smashed by big balls.
Did you like in the Big Lebowski where he's got that picture above where he serves himself his Kahlua and milk, like, and vodka drink?
That's got to be based on.
He's got like that. There's a photograph, a big poster of Nixon bowling. And that's like, when I looked at that picture the first time, it didn't strike me that it's like, no pun intended, that's at the White House. Like, he's at the White House. And like, there's something like, there's crazy symbolism. I could go on and on with the Big Lebowski. Like there is an article that came out from some guy had a blog that just went on and on for days about Kabbalah in the Big Lebowski. And he produced, there is a picture, and he produced this blog before A Serious Man came out. So you have in the comments people like, being like, or just beyond like reacting to it. And they're just like, oh, he's totally tripping. Like, this has no basis. And then it's like, dude, they made a movie following this about Kabbalah. Like, and there's something too, like, that first scene where he's like, he signs the check 9/11. It's got the whale on it, and then he's like listening to whales on tape when they burst in and they throw the marmot in the bathtub with them, and it's all feels like very connected to because it's Flea. Flea is with the nihilists, and then like Flea is in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in a bathroom scene, and then in Fear and Loathing he says, "I don't fuck with me now, man. I'm Ahab," to his attorney who's flopping around in the bathtub in the same way that Jeffrey Lebowski flops around in the bathtub after he was listening to the whales on tape. You know what I mean? Like Ahab, Moby Dick. Like there's a lot of connections here, and they also play the same song, which is when Bunny. Right, is throw White Rabbit into the tub with me. Like, that's what he wants, is White Rabbit. And then it's like, there's White Rabbit is Bunny, who's the girl that the whole movie, the noir, is centered around in the Big Lebowski. And when she's crashed into a fountain, like if you listen to the song that's playing, it's freaking the Dead Kennedys version of Viva Las Vegas. And then like the Fear and Loathing ends with the Dead Kennedys, Viva Las Vegas. Like, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, I could go on, but yeah, no.
Have you watched them together? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I've done a lot of things, man. I made like a film, like I never released it, but I did like just a jump back and forth between the Big Lebowski and Fear and Loathing because there's just like so many parallels. It's like, wait, that's Flea, and they're like, there's all like, I don't know.
There's got to be a Kingpin sink in there too, especially since it's got Randy Quaid, and Randy Quaid's the guy that saved us from the aliens in Independence Day.
Oh shit, you're right. Oh, that's deep. And also Randy Quaid, just on a meta level, like everything generally about that. Yeah. No, there's a thing going on with Murdoch. Yeah.
David's not going to sleep for 2 weeks now.
He wasn't going to anyway. I don't know. I mean, like, it's not a huge deal, but just, I guess it is like the shutdown also is food banks and SNAP program, all the food stamp things, and not just for people that don't have jobs, but like single moms and things. And so I don't know, does this lead to an end? Do you think this is like the way the Democrats are positioning it, that this will actually like end those programs at some point?
They were saying that the bill would end the programs for people, but really it's them not allowing the bill to go through.
Yeah. So I wonder about that. And do you feel like there's a push for less social services, or is this all towards eventually a UBI or something? Which way are the Republicans going, do you think? Like,
well, I think it's a mixture of those things, but big part of it is laying off all the workers in order to bring in AI to run all of it incompetently. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's more important to them than actually cutting off the services. Because like you said, they want the UBI. That's one path to total control, right? Except what
Well,
they're looking. Yeah.
this would spell out, this would be a huge step towards the end of ESG. So they've been setting up in connection to the WEF like this whole like infrastructure that's reliant upon all these different social programs. And ESG scores with this bill will be a massive step towards becoming completely irrelevant, or at least America's role in all of this, because this is like a global participatory thing that they're trying to set up, that they have been setting up, and taking all the steps to make this happen. So like it included in this, like people keep talking about the immigrant factor with healthcare, and that's one thing like in the mix, but like it's all of the Doge cuts are included in this bill, and by them not allowing it to go through, they're basically going to overturn everything that everything they had found that they were putting in place for trans Sesame Street in Iran or whatever it was, I forget, but like there's a giant list of things. And I'm sorry, like I can't help it. Like from everything I've seen, I'm of the opinion that if you
Trans Sesame Street was worth it. It's true
that all of these things
No
together,
longer
like
big
they
term.
really do stack up, and it's not just about the money; it's about everything that's attached to it, including ESG. Like this is a bailout for the companies. Like the more complicit you are, the more like if something does happen with the economy, like if the economy was to crash, but not even that. That's just a worst case scenario. You're getting benefits from the bank by your willingness to comply with all of this stuff. So it's
really
like
sad because it's an end of an age, you know. Because like I had dreams growing up. I wanted to make like a post-apocalyptic lesbian theater troupe sitcom from Canada. And there's just not going to be the same money for that there used to be, you know.
But there's going to be AI so that you can do it without the money.
Yeah, but I wanted to, you know, the whole point is to force people down their throats like indoctrinated sci-fi soap operas, you know, like Star Wars, man. I want to, you know, who doesn't want, you want to force people to have to watch this stuff because there's no other options.
lid locks.
That's part of the CNN dream, you know, and like they took it from
Oh,
us.
I forget you're still connected to them.
I wouldn't say that.
Once a CNN employee, always a CNN employee. People are going to start digging into your shit, and they're going to be like, dude, this guy's an operative from CNN the whole time.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying.
And NASA.
It was cool. I get their dream. I get the dream of if you could be the only thing on TV, then everyone's watching your 3 channels. You can have the red channel, the blue channel, and the green channel, and maybe even a kids channel too. Yeah. And that's pretty impressive. And it's gone now. We don't have that same sort of military indoctrination level. Like Mockingbird doesn't seem to work the same way anymore. Maybe I'm wrong because I do keep seeing articles about streamers that are totally like all streamers that are high watching algorithm are controlled by a small talent agency, right? So I guess there's still a lot of control there. And Hassan Piker is Cenk Uyghur's nephew. So there's just nepotism on all sides. But I don't know.
Is that the guy that killed his dog?
Yeah, right? Yeah, he murdered his dog. No, that's not true. He just like electrocuted his dog and refuses to admit it for some reason.
There's more and more things that came out when people started analyzing his videos from the past, not just him electrocuting his dog, but like wounds on the dog, like below his collar, like bad wounds, like it's just a dog is just being abused. So yeah, it just sucks, you know.
This dude bit his dog. That's what happened. I don't know.
Man bites dog.
I mean, yeah, I think there is something though about the way I think we might have talked about this, the way the left can treat dogs, because they'll castrate or spay, give a hysterectomy to a dog, and it models a behavior that they think is then approachable behavior for humans. Like, well, really, this is population control. And see, it was fine for my dog. I actually lived through that. It's totally
it's a purebred, by the way.
I can do that. Yeah,
right.
This is the way. Yeah.
No, that's
BLM, but purebred dogs.
If you apply some of the same terminology that you put into pedigree, and then you apply it to, it's like that's not much different than what they're already rationalizing at this point. People are literally like rationalizing, like basically mutilating their children and saying that it's for their own good, and it's like just looks like modern day eugenics. You know, we've discussed this plenty of times, but yeah.
Yeah, and the kinds of medicine that they give dogs, and then they end up with seizures and all sorts of problems, and they're confused why it's happening. And they're like, well, luckily we have more modern medicine for our dogs than ever. I think that's definitely something. And if you can treat an animal poorly, then you can dehumanize easier. And when you can dehumanize, then you can treat things the way you've trained yourself to treat other things.
Well, is that story true? I remember hearing that apparently that like the Hitler youths would be raised with a German Shepherd, and then when they got to a certain point, they'd force them to kill the dog.
I think that's just from Heinlein. I don't think that's actually true about the Reich.
That sounds like a Heinlein thing, and it also sounds like
that's from Starship Troopers.
that kid in Treasure Island, where he wrote that book years later, like what was it called? Don't Shoot My Dog or whatever, where they wanted to get him to cry for a certain scene. And like he wasn't crying, so they were like threatened to kill his dog, and then he like freaking cried, and they were like, "We got the shot."
Oh yeah, they did that new series, The Agent. I think it's called, the one about the guy who works for a piping company in the Midwest. He's like a Obama era agent, and he has to go to Turkey, and he ends up in one of the like Luxembourg or something like that. And they make him kill his dog, his puppy, at some point, just to make him able to handle things. I'm sure that's something that's done. I mean, like, probably it sounds very CIA.
Well, in Jojo Rabbit, it was just a thing. They were like, just kill the rabbit. They'd have a rabbit, and they're like, then it was the kid. It's basically like Boy Scouts for Nazi youth, right? So it's like, and this is how you show your, your ability to follow orders. Just following orders. Kill. That's why it's called Jojo Rabbit, because the kids are making fun of him, calling him Jojo Rabbit after he won't kill the rabbit. But yeah, I don't know, man.
This episode got so sad. So sad.
Poor rabbits. I don't know. Rabbits breed.
Someone bring a kidney on screen, quick.
A kidney?
Yeah. I got one right here.
Jesus.
I don't get it.
A kidney on screen, not a kidney.
A
kidney. We can bring a cat and then kill it,
All right. Okay.
That one does.
It's horrible. Okay. Funk says, I heard it was a chicken for the KGB. They killed the chicken. You think the KGB had to kill a chicken? Because that seems very hard. That seems very ironic, like the Levite priesthood thing. It's like that ritual where you kill a chicken for sin. Right. I think you're all going to get real confused when the National Guard doesn't go after the protesters, but after ICE.
Maybe.
Bet. Yeah, that would be
that's exactly what I'd expect to hear from Mars.
Yeah.
Stirring it up. I don't know, man. I'm fine with not knowing the way that things are going to play out. Like I have my ideas and my projections or whatever, but like I feel like it saves me a lot of anxiety of just like not like trying to like be like, this is what's going to happen, I swear it. Like it's just that feels very unhealthy, and I see that a lot in social media realms. And like I'm like I won't do this on Facebook, but on Twitter I'll just, if somebody's just saying something idiotic, I'll just call them a moron nowadays. Like I don't even care. Like it's not just necessarily like my go-to, but if somebody's just being that dumb, and most of the things that make me feel like this, like I might actually give the appearance that I'm triggered, but if you saw my state, I'm not. I'm chill as a cucumber on the other side of the conversation, my actual reality. But like one of the things that really I'm just like, God, you're a freaking moron, is when people have a fallacy of like slippery slope that's solid. Like I'm like, yeah, that could lead to this or whatever, but it's one of those things where people are just projecting a worst case scenario on everything. Like it just feels like it's just like this festering negative thing that's totally like talking about like Candace Owens stuff. It's like, dude, like it's just like the worst possible scenario, and we're going to assert that this is what did happen or what's going to happen. And I'm just like, I don't know, man, I'm not into it. I was never into it when Alex Jones would do that. He's like, these are all coffins. Everyone's going to end up in these coffins on the side of the road, these plastic biodegradable coffins or whatever. I'm like, is that what they are? Do we know that? Like, dude, it's possible. Like I can entertain it. I'm not saying don't say it like it's I'm just asking questions. It's cool. If you're asking, what are these? They sure look like coffins. Like, I'm cool with that. But, like, when it crosses that line, it's just like, these are coffins. They're going to put everybody, and you're like, okay, dude, like, you're not helping.
You could make way more money off cocaine in those coffins, like, realistically, if it's the U.S. government, just, like, from experience. But I think also, the idea that they're getting rid of services for illegal immigrants or undocumented workers pushes towards that UBI idea, because if they have less non-citizens to worry about and they can focus on only the citizens, then they can put it together in a program that hits the United States. I don't know if that's real, but it could easily happen.
But there's a practical argument for. Oh, sorry, Thomas.
For techno
there's another angle here
want
too.
that.
There's a corporate version of UBI that I guess people like. I don't hear it brought up as often, because UBI almost is implied that like the government just gives everyone a baseline of money.
But it could be like Adopt a Highway from McDonald's.
Adopt a Highway, or it could be very much like how health insurance works in this company, like or in this company. When like you go and you work for a company, and they're the ones that now, and if you look at like Silicon Valley and a lot of like the high-end FANG companies, that's what happens. Once you work for that company, they'll pay for you to live there. They'll give you all of your food. They'll make it so that you never have to worry about any like actual like Maslow's hierarchy,
the way slavery used to be.
I guess tendency or for
you'll
right?
be a servant like, in the court of
you're kind of at, but it's kind of the company's store, but like you get the same banana as anyone else can get, but
you don't even know. Like there's a buffet. There's like 36 buffets at Google, and they're all like different kinds. Of food.
And just like 20 years ago, not every person could afford to have like a GPS head dash unit with Android Auto and all that stuff. Now, like you can get a cheap car and like everyone gets that technology. And it's the same thing. Like right now, maybe Google feeds everyone and puts them in apartments, but not every company can afford to do that. But in 20, 30 years, that might just be the norm.
The
is that
kind of company,
dude, Mike Frank in the
like
comments nailed it here when he says Thomas Paine was for a version of UBI, a dividend on their investment in America. It was one of his proposals. One of his many proposals is totally in line with what you're describing. Yeah.
But wouldn't Thomas Paine's version of that have predated like straight up fiat currency or no?
Right. There's a lot of extra variables, but that's the thing though. With anything from Thomas Paine, people are like, "Oh, but that's so complicated." And it's like, is it more complicated than what we have right now? Like they treat it like we have a system, and the system's pretty complicated. So I don't know. You know, they're like, "Oh, but you'd have to factor in this and that." What are we dealing with right now? So whatever. I don't know. But I just wanted to say, like, in regards to this whole question about illegal immigrants getting the medical assistance. It's like, I'm going to be Captain Obvious over here, but like apparently there's some misunderstandings with all this. Like there is a practical argument to be made. I think I've seen it from JD Vance or whatever, but it's just like, you don't have to go into too much outlandish exaggeration on all this stuff, because, you know, if anybody, immigrant or not or whatever, goes to an emergency room, the way we have it set up nowadays is that they have to be treated. They have to be treated at the emergency room. Now, if you're a regular citizen, you're going to get a bill for that emergency room, or your insurance will cover what it can if you have insurance, you know, like, but at the same time, like, it's going somewhere. In the case of an illegal immigrant, they have to be seen no matter what it is, whether it's an emergency or not. If they show up to that emergency room, they have to be seen. And so whatever the bill is the taxpayers paying for it. Now, one could make the argument that it's not that much in the grander scheme. They can talk about their relativity. That is a reasonable argument to make. But then at the same time, I think the Republicans would say, well, whatever it is, it's better than what our vets get. And so you say our veterans aren't getting the same level of assistance as an illegal immigrant who may have shown up here not even necessarily through a proper port of entry, blah, 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 and they could have 5 years before their first court date to even determine their citizenship or anything. And during that time, they set everything up, and then you're like, oh, well, the person's clearly established here. Justice, it's not just in us, it's just as injustice is just in ice or something. I don't know. But yeah.
Just nice. Yeah. Just nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to put that out there, that they're like just to steel man the thing, because I keep seeing people debating on illegal immigrants don't get assistance. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Yes, they do. No, they don't. And then when it comes down to it, it's like, dude, this is how it works. Like if you show up, you're gonna get help. It could be, you know, anything, and you show up at the emergency room, they have to treat you. Doesn't mean you have to show up there with a heart attack. You know, like. Just saying, you know. And do we want people to get help? Of course. I don't want to see them get rid of the rule that if you show up at an emergency room, you have to get, like, it would suck if you.
I think the logical conclusion there, though, if you start like if you do a slippery slope and we don't go to the very end of the slope, but the next iteration of that is like, okay, everyone gets to go to the emergency room and you have to get seen no matter what. Then there's going to be like the emergency room that has the 8-hour line. I mean, basically Canada, like what happens in Canada and UK. Like you go to the place that you're allowed to go to and it's free.
I was thinking like more like China with the Uyghurs, probably, because like at a certain point you just donate your body to science because you're not.
See, China doesn't have to keep up as many pretenses as the U.S. does.
And how long before our ballroom? I don't think we're going to have the same pretenses much longer. We're generally over the pretenses. They're like, yeah, let's just do it. It seems like everything's going that way.
That's what it looks like to me. Like I get the thing. You probably got this too, Andreas. You're not back in Santa Cruz yet. You won't be till December or something. But
yeah, allegedly.
I don't know if you got because you technically are a California resident still, right? You live in California. So if you look at the actual wording that I got in the mail, I don't know if it's like it for everybody in California, but like the wording of the 50, like yes or no on 50, it's like they're literally like. You look at the description, they're like, this is what Texas is doing already. They're talking about gerrymandering. And so, it's the congressional map. So they're like, basically, we want to district it as such. We want to gerrymander. And then it says in the thing that you're saying yes or no to, it's literally just telling you the rationalization as the argument. From the get-go, it's like, this is what they did in Texas. Should we do the same thing? And so, but it's weird because you're like, this is our issue. We're like, this thing that they're doing is wrong. Oh, they gerrymander. We've been gerrymandering. It's not like this is a new thing. Like for the first time, we're going to do that thing that they're doing. No, we've both been doing it. The state by state, the different states. But it's like they have no other option but to just spell it out because they can't do it in any subtle way. And the only way now that they can get away with it is by saying, they're doing it. Let's do what they're doing, and this becomes a bigger fundamental issue, right? It's like
Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. No, isn't that the general premise? Is like, here's these horrible techniques that are really useful, so we're going to use them too.
Yeah, totally. And then it's like, well, you can no longer. That's cool. Like if you guys want to do that. But you no longer will have any semblance of a moral high ground. You will no longer have that talking point to say this is something that Republicans do. That's not true, though,
because they never had. No one's ever really had a moral high ground. I don't think ever.
Not
in history.
Not really. But they can keep up the guys.
Right, and yet it's still an archetype that still works. So
well, my point right now is that we're through with the guys now. We're like, oh, you guys want to play dirty? We'll play dirty too. There's no guys. Like I'm just saying, the way that it's worded, I've never seen anything like that on a ballot. And it's the only thing on the whole thing. There's nothing else we get a vote for, at least in my district. I see one thing, and it's 50, Prop 50, and it's
I think, well, like the older you get, the less relevant your opinion is, because then everything's focused on the people that haven't been around long enough to have seen that like nothing matters anymore. So like you've aged out, or you're aging out.
If you walked out of the film, you don't get to have an opinion on it. I mean, you can spout off your opinion, but it's irrelevant. You know, it's the same.
That's why I can say Tron 3 was bad. Yeah.
Okay. Because you finished it.
No, I'm just kidding. Everything I've heard about it's bad, so I'll just have.
I heard it's Jared Leto's best work. I mean,
I'll just have a prejudice. Yeah, well, diverse ethnic female. That was the star of the show. Really,
honestly, I can't remember the last time a movie got such bad press as Tron Ares that I'm assuming it's going to be brilliant. Like I'm assuming by the time I get to see it, I'm going to be like, oh, they were all wrong.
Well,
I don't know. Wasn't the last one like? The last one was Morbius, which was also Jared Leto.
Also Jared Leto, but that's just Jared Leto. And I really wanted his band to be so much better than it is, the 30 Seconds to Mars. Like, I've repeatedly tried to listen to it, and I just can't. It just remains bad.
Hillary Clinton, whatever, when she was running.
No.
Yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars.
It's the cultiest, weirdest thing. Like, it feels like it should be good, right? I mean, that's my...
So... Yeah. I'm good off that. Okay, so what have you been up to, David?
Stuff. I mean, do I have any new sync films up? Not up. I have a lot of things that I've been working on that I haven't uploaded. But I got enough here that I'm sure if there's a listener out there that's actually like watched all my sync films, that would be pretty crazy. So I know of 2 people who have seen like most of my stuff, but for the most part, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I got my sync films up for free streaming and download on this website, thesyncbook.com, and then in my highlights on my Twitter page, I have ones that aren't here. There's videos on my Twitter page that aren't on my website, and there's videos on my website that aren't on my Twitter page. So that's kind of how it goes. Yeah.
So you have to catch them all
You
everywhere.
gotta catch all the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Pretty
you
sweet.
said there's things that like you haven't shared. So to catch them all, they got to like break into your house and like.
You know what? I'm probably at some point here actually gonna have a Patreon.
That's
So
fair, yeah.
where I will upload things that are like in the works or whatever. Because what happens is some of them I'll like go to do volume in between the vocals, and like I'll get like 3/4 of the way through it, and like I'll be like onto another project or whatever. I should just upload what I have done and just share it with the community. You know, Ooh, this is good. Automatic for the people. REM with Toy Story.
That's
Crazy
a
stuff
solid.
happens. Yeah. Yeah.
This is pretty sweet.
Andy,
then
have you heard about this one?
And then also, if you guys need your astrology read, I'm sorry, because you need your astrology read, what a silly way to put that. There's only one source for the Facing North blogspot. This is the page of Noah here.
Yeah, I read all of Philip K. Dick's exegesis, at least what was released. I
Good
spent
job.
all summer researching Philip. If you guys like PKD, you got to read this article. You got to put on Wagner's Parzival because that was like a huge mystical resonant point throughout Philip's life. And read this thing. This is a deep dive into his visions. But what I'm really doing here is showing how the archetypes and the mythologies play out in our lives, and it does it for all of us. We all have astrological charts that highlight specific stellar alignments and these stories, and we live them in different ways. And Philip's visions and what he experienced and his sister's death and everything, it's wild. Like you go back up to this, go back up a little bit. This image here, okay, go down. There's an image. Oh no, never mind. Read the article.
What image?
Right here.
Okay.
My goodness, you're very ADHD.
You're being such a
today.
Leo right now.
I think it's his bandwidth, probably. I blame Noah. Noah's just in slow-mo.
It's true. Like, check
Toronto's
this out.
off.
His third house of siblings is in Gemini, the twins. He was born with a twin who they were born 6 weeks premature, and then they died on their due date, or she died on their expected due date. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Now they had Mars right on the foot of Castor, the mortal twin. Okay. And Philip writes in the exegesis that his sister had a leg wound, a burn to her leg that led to her death. Now, Mars was retrograde when they were born in Cancer in the sign of its fall, retrogrades back into tropical Gemini, and it stations on Capella, which is the goat that suckled Zeus. Okay. When he was being hidden from Kronos. All right. So Mars stations direct on the star of the goat that suckled him, and part of their death was that the mother could not produce enough milk for both of them. It's wild.
Shit.
It's wild. Anyways, I go on and on and on, and this relates to his visions in 2374 and on and on and on. You got to dig into it. It's heavy though. Take a few sittings. It's a lot.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, you can find that Facing North. I'll put the link into the comments and the description so you can find your way.
And then sign up to my Patreon because I'll do astrology work for you through the Patreon.
You better are.
Yeah.
Sign it up.
I just want to just jump in and say my friend Babs sent me a message saying I have in regards to having seen all my sync films, but then she reacted and said no, an artist does not release unfinished work until they're dead. So I just said I'm gonna get a Patreon and do that kind of thing, but she made the call, so I guess that's that. But yeah, sorry guys.
You can do a little bit of both. Like, I did Prince have a vault and new musicology happened. I think that counts.
It's a little presumptuous to even know when to think that you know when your art is done, though, right? Isn't it? Don't they all just get to a point where it's good enough? Otherwise, it never comes out until you die.
Right, but you know what happens now is that they have to record all this extra stuff that they don't get to release, and then the studio owns it all, and then when they die, they just keep coming out with new stuff constantly. I saw Lady Gaga had said, I think it was over 200 songs that were owned by the studio specifically just for art pop. So they took like 11 songs or something out of over 200, and then we're just like, yeah, we own the rest, and you can't even do anything with them in the future. They're ours, you know. And I'm just like, oh yeah, she dies, watch how long another Lady Gaga
Yeah, but
song.
what
What do
happened
you know?
I mean, Prince has I think thousands of songs and videos, and most of them haven't been released. And he didn't
Yeah.
write a will, so I don't know exactly.
But
I
he,
feel like
he got control over everything. He's one of the guys who got.
he's dead, and he didn't have a will. So
Yes,
who has
and
control
Tom
over it
Petty
now?
got complete control, and he's dead. And Frank Zappa got complete control, and he's dead.
I don't know, man. I just saw a concert yesterday from what's her name from Fleetwood Mac,
Stevie Nicks.
Stevie Nicks, just from like this month, and she was just playing Tom Petty songs like she owned them. I mean, I know that they did, and not just the duets, like other songs, like Free Fallin' and stuff. Where I'm just like, that wasn't even something they did together. And I was like, maybe she's just like, we were tight. He'd be okay with this. Like, I don't know. Maybe he gave her the right to do that. I don't know.
Suing, yeah.
Well, so long as she's paying his family trust to record them. I mean, you do cover songs, right? You just have to pay for it.
Oh, I see.
Hey, speaking of constantly coming out with new stuff, look at this. There are a whole bunch of new items on the store.
Cover comics.
for the next 5 days till the end of October, I've got some massive sales, like half off on a whole bunch of different goods. One of them is the Frazzle Drip Funhouse horror comic that I did a couple years ago. That one is only like $5, I think. A whole bunch of them. So you got to like poke around the website. But yeah, 50% off on this thing. It's crazy. We're going crazy here.
We're going to you got to do that character, dude. Can you do like an advertisement, Thomas, where you're just like you're like the used car dealership and you're selling your stuff,
baby
like,
seal,
dude. I can see, dude, I can see it, like with your website. You like show all the stuff that you got.
I'm too relaxed right now. I gotta be there in like the right zone.
Yeah, well, whenever you get to that zone, like I just saw, like I had a vision when you said that like this is you having like a legit advertisement, like the
Crazy Tommies.
It's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Well, guys, make sure you go to paranoidamerican.com so you can find those things. And if you want Frazzle Drip, it's actually pretty easy just to go to Frazzle Drip. Is it frazzledrip.com?
Frazzle Drip Funhouse. I didn't get the full Frazzle Drip.
Someone else wanted it.
How did you get away with covering Basquine on that one?
Sorry, what was that?
How did you get away with covering Basquine on that one? Did you have to pay his trust for Frazzle Drip? Basquine, the face. Nah,
I get it. Yeah, on the little volleyball and on Ellen background and on Tom Hanks and I know. Actually, I did have to pay off Hillary Clinton though because
Jesus Christ, how did I miss that?
Sexually,
dude. I'm telling you, the Basquiat crown for the No Kings with the X through it, and Basquiat is the face. Like all of that wear the Ellen's and Jay-Z's sweater with the face, that is an official Basquiat brand.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, do those people own the crown? Like, what is going on? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like
the Frazzle Drip, whoever owns the Frazzle Drip IP might also own the Crown IP, so that there's a direct connection between Frazzle Drip and No Kings movement.
Shit.
That is solid.
And this is why you watch until the very end of
this is how you don't want to miss anything.
You don't bail out early when people start doing their plugs.
No. Also, if anyone wanted to continue down that chain, I'm sure there's more than what we're discussing here, like in regards to the Basquiat Frazzle Drip No Kings connection.
Well, dude, there absolutely is, because then you can start going down the Damien Hirst cell connection. And how Damien Hirst is like the highest paid UK artist in history, and that he is predominantly collected by people like Podestas and whatnot. And then you look at what he actually made that was popular in the art world, and I'll stop there.
Exactly. Yeah, I got you.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed themselves, went to Xirtus.com, supported us, downloaded a new sync film from David, and bought a comic book, and also subscribed to Noah's Facing North Patreon. But make sure you go to fchat/@Xirtus so you can go to the uncensored chat that never dies. And you can also watch Synctanks and other Xirtus episodes directly in fchat now, which is pretty sweet. They'll be posted, and then you can just stream them directly in the app, so you never have to leave. Cool. All right. I love you all. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in a few.